Welcome to another episode of Good Earners reviewing The Sopranos. I am Maurice Hunt. I got one of my hosts here, Spike Lou, my other host here, Rich, our little glorified crew, if you may. How y'all fellas doing?
Good, man. This little thing of ours.
Yes,
Yeah, man,
absolutely.
doing well, man. Happy to talk to y'all, brothers. Good seeing y'all.
Yes,
Vice
sir.
versa. Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. It's good to be here. And on Good Earners, we talk about family, finessing, finances, and feelings in the world of Tony Soprano, bringing you a new perspective, a fly perspective, and most importantly, a black perspective. This week, we'll be reviewing season 2, episode 6, Happy Wanderer. Spike, can you give us the synopsis of this episode?
Absolutely, man. Guys, I know y'all excited. The executive game is back in town. Junior's no longer hosting, and this is Tony's first time. As we can see, it's a big deal in the Soprano world. One of my favorite episodes. So I'm happy that the executive game going on. Behind the scenes of that, Meadow is looking to start adding to her college resume and get some lucky and unlucky breaks. Tony speaks about the Happy Wanderer with Dr. Melfi and how he liked to smash his face in. And one of his childhood friends ends up on the wrong side of the Tony Soprano business. This is episode 6, The Happy Wanderer.
Okay, Spike, real quick, do you write these yourself?
Yes.
This
absolutely.
is fire, bro. Because I'm like, I looked up what I had to do. You weren't here. I was like, where do you find this at? I can't find no good synopsis like this.
Oh, that's
I had to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
That's tight.
Absolutely.
All right. Shouts out to you, man. So I just had to ask. It
Absolutely.
hit me. I've been meaning to ask, but
Nah,
I'm-
you kill those synopsis. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna hold you, man.
When we get
Each
done, we need
week,
to make
every
a
single
mashup of all
time.
of them.
for real though.
Man, because it's hard to do that without going too long and being too short. You body those.
Got
Appreciate
that.
that, fellas. Absolutely.
So we open up. It's college night. We see Meadow. We see her with some classmates. We see some parents there. Tony goes to the restroom, and we find out he meets an old high school buddy, Davy, David Scatino, I believe. And they're having a little small talk, and then eventually Artie walks in. There's a lot of different things going on here. What I throw it in your corner here, Rich. What's some of the things that stood out from the initial opening of this episode?
Just the regularness of life.
Mm-hmm.
That whole aspect of things. That's we talk about it from time to time, but that's what makes this show special. It's not the gangster stuff. You would expect that.
Mm-hmm.
It's how does this gangster operate in the normal world? This is with everybody else. This is regular every single day things. My kid's going to college. I have to come to this meeting. We talking about school plays. You get to see him in a different light because we get people around him, and we've had Artie as a character for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We get people around him who have known him since before he was the Tony Soprano that we know and love. So there's a little bit of reality pool that they can, we from the conversation they had with the kids, we know that Davey and Artie were what do you say, like Joe Namath and Y.A. Tittle.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to what they are now. Now Tony's the big dog. So it just brings you back to that.
Yeah, I got questions too. Yeah.
Yeah. They were the big steppers and stuff like that. Tony even mentioned later in the episode, you think I'm still the kid on the school bus. So those role reversals.
No more.
This episode has a lot to do with masculinity, man. Masculinity, power, and Spike said it in the synopsis, luck. Luck, chance, and I think in this opening scene that the guy from the school told him, don't leave anything to chance. You got gambling going on, a lot of chance, a lot of luck, a lot of themes. So that's, it set it up perfectly for how this is going to roll. And like I said, that power dynamic.
Yeah. What about you, Spike? What are some things, some pieces that you gather from this scene?
Yeah, a lot of underlying stuff, as Richard pointed out. You could see kind of the jostling for position as these guys still trying to make it like high school, and Tony, he letting them know like, nah, bro, I'm big dog now, like y'all said.
Yeah.
And it comes off in just the gestures, like patting each other on the back, and just the jostling for position that we do as men. I think they did a really good job of just slow rolling the setup of the situation that his friend got into in the end. I think they did a good job of setting it up because you could kind of see it building.
Yeah.
And then you see it happening. You're like, yep, that's about exactly what I expected. So great job again by David Chase. I love this, one of my favorite episodes. Okay. I love the whole setup for this and all of these things. So yeah, 100%.
I got a quick question. Did the Buccos cater for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because we know that. Remember, we talked about the Buko's invisible daughter. She was on the soccer team, but they never let us actually meet the
Damn, I
Buko's
ain't never
daughter.
even thought about
So
that.
I'm like, oh man, continuity. But then I started seeing them with the little donut tray. I'm like, oh, okay, they catered. Okay, but that's why I was asking.
We have not ever seen her. That's crazy.
Yeah, you know what's funny though? To your point, Mo, they referenced the catering as Charmaine saw it as a business opportunity. They didn't reference it as, our daughter goes to school here, we might as well volunteer. It's kind of like Charmaine saw the opportunity and dove for it. So
we got to get in there.
Yeah, that is one thing they never really went back to.
Yeah, quiet as kept, Charmaine could have been like Big P's wife. Like if she was on this side, she probably would have been the top notch. I feel like female in this, like to the degree that they can actually flourish in this. Maybe Janet somewhere. You don't think so?
Okay.
I'm saying like
I don't know if
she
would have been cut out for it. Like, I think
okay.
One of the things that make the characters so that's a good thing you bring up. This episode really shows the differences between, like Rich said this, like what Tony Soprano does and what he has to do as far as the mundane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that in response to the Buko, she doesn't fit the profile of the other wives. Like she doesn't fit the Charmaine Pussy's wife, role. Like she ain't like them. She's more challenging to Artie. It's just a different dynamic that she has, and I think they do a good job of showing like she wouldn't make it in this world at all. Like she would not make it.
Could you imagine any of the crew telling everybody they got to go home, otherwise Charmaine will have my balls on the
wife
menu tomorrow?
Come on,
that's
bro.
not.
Yes.
No one in here is doing that. And she ain't changing. So I don't think she would be 100%.
Something else that I thought was interesting. Artie, man, this dude looks so broke. Like, man, he came in the bathroom with a gray blazer on with this silky forest green 70s stuck collar flaps out. Then the slacks was a different color. I said, man, and then Tony, and then even the other guy looks kind of like some like college teacher or something. And Tony comes in, he got the full black, like he looks very modern, looks very fresh, very chill. And even Tony was like, man, like he said, the tittle and the Joe Namath, but he says now you guys are like Alan Aldo and Phil Donahue, which are like actors, comedians, screenwriters that now you're on the outside of the game. Y'all wish y'all could be in the place like Joe Namath and them, like y'all used to be. Yeah. And did it throw y'all off at the fact that Artie was a quarterback? Because this threw me.
No, yeah, I mean, Artie even put in sports through me, to be real with you.
I can see it. I think it speaks to, though, how washed Artie is.
Ah, man.
Artie. Like we've gotten to the point in there, even the fit you're talking about. It's like he's done, dude. Like the difference between he cooked out here. The difference between him, like you just said with Tony, like I'm in the game now. Like, look at me. I'm sleek. I got the chain on. Like, and then these dudes, they're different degrees of small business owners. One's successful. I got a sportswear store. So it kind of shows in his clothing. And Artie, difference from later on, of course, he's a lot more successful than we see it. But now, he's just a struggling restaurant owner, and he looks like it. They did a good job with that. Like you pointed out was good.
Yeah. I just thought that was just an interesting thing, like kind of how Tony don't even have a tie on. Like that's how he's on a whole different.
Still look fly to me.
Yeah, like Artie got the shirt, the taco meat out, and everything. But even when he says that, Artie kind of processes what he's saying when he says that y'all like the Alan Aldo, and it's this kind of cut before they go to the next scene where it kind of resonates. And I think, well, yeah, go ahead. Cause I was
going to say, they reference, not the show, but overall society references people who don't wear ties. That means they have nobody to answer to.
Nobody to answer to. Yep.
Very, very symbolic for Tony Soprano. Like, I'm the top dog. I don't have anybody to answer to it. If I don't wear a tie, who's going to question me for not wearing a tie to a business?
I ain't got to impress nobody. Yep.
That's fire. Facts. All right, man. That's
a good call. Rich.
That's a great pull right there. Davey tries to get they go in the hallways, and Davey tries to get in on a bet with Tony. I'm just gonna reveal this.
Well, asking him about who he likes to open it up. So it lays the impression that he's bet with Tony before, like he's his bookie, or he bets on games with him. He know, of course, what Tony does. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand how he even knows about the game though. Like this is supposed to be a big dog game, bro. Like why are you even I just don't get how how that information would have got in his circle if he didn't get it from Tony. I ain't understand that.
Let's investigate that, because I actually got the same question.
What's that?
That same question,
how did he know about?
Because he got the info quick, and this is like Tony's first exec game. So
yeah, this is like before he even confirmed it with Junior. Really?
Yeah, really. So I guess we got to investigate that a little more, because I kind of was like, he was like at the spot, like they were real quiet, hush about this, like, when we get there. But yeah,
maybe that shows how much of a degenerate he is too, a degenerate gambler. So that okay. When you said that him popping up, it made me think of it. Yeah, so I guess they showing how much of a degenerate he is, that he is that much of a low life, like
a fiend, like type deal.
Yeah, you know how they a degenerate gambler, like they can't, like a fiend, alcoholic, or whatever.
You'll find your way around.
I'm finding my way to the stakes. Yeah.
I've always assumed he got it from like Richie's Game or something like that.
Okay.
Even though Richie's Game comes later in the episode, we know that he's a regular there, similar to what Spike said. He's gambled with Tony before. I'm sure there was a game prior to it that there were some whispers about this game, or maybe they were questioning, like, who's going to run the big game now that Junior.
The scuttlebutt at the table. That makes sense.
Maybe he put two and two together. Because I'm like, when he knocked on the door to the game, I'm like, how the hell did you even know what room it was at? You know what I mean? And Tony's, but
just like a fiend trying to find a fix, they get,
and he could get to it, and he could get it off too, because he kind of fits the bill. Like, he looks like he would be at an exec game, like, because he owns his own business. Y'all know me, like he kind of speaks that later. Like, y'all know me, I own the sporting, the sporting business shop or whatever. So he kind of getting it off. Like, if when we get there, the Jewish guy giving him the information, it's like, okay, he must be one of those, because we see a doctor and some other people that are there, but. Not to jump too far ahead, I thought it was a funny line where he's trying to keep up. He can't keep up with Tony. He says, man, do you know how many jock straps I sold last week? That was wild to me. It's like, dog, you are so, because you're still stuck where it was. Tony is light years ahead of you. You still think you're the quarterback. You know what I mean? That was like the guy back then when Tony didn't have the makings of a varsity athlete.
I got a question for y'all.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I got a question for y'all, for what Davey said. And, well, real quick, going back to what we were just talking about, when Tony saw him at the game, he wasn't on. He had a smile on his face, so that makes me think that that hotel is what they use for business, and he was probably aware of it. But the question I really have is, when he mentioned that jockstrap line, was that his way of saying, man, I sold so many jock straps, I got the money, I'm good for it? Or is that like, dog, I'm fucking selling jock straps for a living? Like, please give me some kind of excitement. What did y'all take that as?
I think that was it. Like, of course, you don't got the money that Tony does, but give me this excitement. Give me the chance to not to have to sell so many fucking jock straps next week. I love this shit. I do this. That's a really good question, because I was thinking that too as well. Like, I don't really think it's like, nigga, I got money. It ain't that. I know you.
Right.
Tony know he gonna be able to get what he needs from him. I feel like, essentially, but yeah, point me in the direction of some fun.
Yeah, but he still kind of seems like he keeps saying I'm good for it. So he has an idea about himself too that makes me back and forth about it. But for right now, I'm gonna go with what you said. I'm gonna go with what you said. Tony and Melfi, we get now this is our second official really for the return of the therapy sessions. And Tony he's quiet. He has a lot of built up anger and has some great lines here. He's very passionate. What y'all think about this dialogue here?
Melfi in her bag. We talked about this last episode. Like, she really, now that she got him back, she really wants to do the work. The line of questioning is more direct. The analysis is more spot on. Like, I feel like that she's really in her bag. But as we know and come to find out as watchers of these series, that ain't what Tony there for. He ain't here to be analyzed. I ain't here for you to give me this feedback. I'm really just bouncing ideas off of you, like a sociopath, and trying to figure out how to apply that to my life. So I think that's part of what starts to frustrate me even more when she was talking about turning her face in a hamburger meat and stuff like that. Like, he can't really put his finger on why he's still feeling so frustrated with everything. Like he said, he got the world by the balls, and she's not helping. Like, she ain't going into, well, maybe you should do this or do that. She's just analyzing it, and I think that he's hating that.
Absolutely.
Is this a woman thing, or this was a proper questioning where he says, you asked me how I'm feeling. I tell you, and now you torture me about it. In this scenario, is this a woman thing or is this a therapist thing? Because she kind of go further into
a little bit of both. A little bit of both. We all know women. A little bit of both, but
yeah. I think in this situation, I'm gonna lean more towards therapist, mainly because this is really their first. We had one at the end of last episode, but this is one of their first sessions with so much time in between their consistent schedules that they're reacclimating themselves. We talked last week about how she's reshifting that power dynamic between them. And to Spike's point, we see throughout this episode in their sessions, she's kind of stripping away some of that professional stuff and speaking his language. She's correcting herself to come down to a level where Tony understands a little bit better. It's got to be frustrating because Tony went so much time without being in therapy. And now that he's back, he doesn't even understand why he's there to begin with. You know, why can't I just be one of these happy-go-lucky? I should be the guy that's out here, the happy wanderer, and that should be whistling for no reason because everything's going well. Yet I still want to just cause harm to anything that's seem like they have any resemblance of happiness.
One of my favorite quotes from Tony, my bad, Mo.
No, go ahead.
One of my favorite quotes from Tony is in this session. He's like, I got the world by the balls and I can't help but feel like a fucking loser. Because we really never see, like, if we, without the therapy sessions, I would never assume that Tony feels like a loser. Like, he doesn't carry that weight with him. It doesn't look like to us as the viewer, but we get to hear him say this. And I just think that's really impressive as far as the role that James got, the role that he played in that dialogue. It was great.
Yeah, it's huge. It to me it's just a deeper thing. I told you, like, the biggest thing about this show that I always take away, and even more that we're reviewing it now, is this idea of you like the idea of something more than the actual something. You know, that's kind of hope. We're kind of locked into hope that way. The belief that if we have so much money, things will be better. The belief that if we have so much time, things will be better. The belief if our health is so, we believe it. We need something to believe in. Don't stop, believe. Come on, like it's all
Tony
there.
is the power. Tony always thought once I had this power, I was going to be good. Once I'm the boss, like he's looked at everybody growing up. We've seen Dickie Moltisanti in the movie. He talks about his dad often. Even his homeboy that passed the first season, Jackie. Like, Tony thought that once he had that power that they had, that all of these problems would be over, and they just multiply.
Another good thing to add in is just how he views people who go to therapy. You know what I mean? He says it in this scene. You know, he's he feels like he's a patient and a pussy. He calls himself a pussy for it. He refers to her patients as jerk offs and douchebags.
Yeah.
So he's being blended in that group, even though that's not who they are. That's how he views them, and that's how he views himself now, because he has to be in therapy and trying to figure all that out. So it's a deep thing with him.
Yeah, it really is. A couple more things I wanted to speak to. This Happy Wanderer, which is the name of the episode, but this concept is so deep to me. Me and Spike have talked about it on Another Week in the Books, shameless plug, but it's that concept of like the grind and, you know, really being ambitious versus the contentment. And I look at like the Happy Wanderer concept is the contentment of I'm good with whatever it is. Where I'm at, I'm good with my people. I'm good with my living arrangement. I'm good with, and it's like in Tony, there's a later scene down in the series where it's like, well, then if it doesn't matter, why do I got to think so much about it? You know what I mean? Like, so it's that concept is so deep to me, that Happy Wanderer, he's angry because it's like, I should feel that way. I have all of the credentials. I should feel that way. But then Melfi comes through, and I don't think she was shooting bail when she tells him, well, the way your mom and dad raised you, you can't experience joy. And he's like, there you go again. So do y'all think there's truth to, I mean, Livia is crazy with the negative. Do you think that's true? Or is it genetic?
He can't experience joy?
He can't experience joy for real.
To go to one of your favorite quotes, Mo, it's a mindset. You know, it's Tony, all of that starts, no matter who you are, no matter where you were raised, how you were raised, all of that is a mindset.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of what you choose and how you choose to look at yourself. There's a book, man, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma, that talks about this. and just it's just how you view things in life.
Mhm.
Not to go too off track from the Sopranos world, but a movie that Spike and myself love, Bronx Tale. There's a famous scene where C is chasing somebody that owes him money, $20, and Sonny flips his whole perspective. I won't get too deep into the scene, but Sonny flips his whole perspective by asking him a simple question. Just off that conversation, he looked at that from, all right, then I got rid of this guy forever for $20. If Tony starts flipping, yeah, you even like the guy, you just answered yourself. You know what I mean? So if Tony starts looking at it from that standpoint, then absolutely he's going to be more happy and more successful. But the way his brain is wired, and that's why he's in therapy. He doesn't know why he's in therapy, but we do. It's for reasons like that, to kind of get to the core of that and start looking at things from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super passionate. I'd rather be one of those douchebags than he was in his bag.
Yeah, man.
Great scene. We pan over to a card game. This is the Richie card game. Richie chilling. I have to say I really like Richie this episode.
This is a good Richie episode.
I really like Richie here.
Incredible
really
Richie
like
really
Richie.
Good Richie episode.
Like, man, he was giving me all of the anyway.
I think we finally, so just not watching this from a macro level, but being like diving into it where we are in the series and not having any information. For me, I remember when I first watched this, I like, okay, finally there's a formidable opponent for Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mama thing was okay the first season and maybe Uncle Junior, but Richie, when I remember when I first, I said, okay, now it's a motherfucker that's going to bring it to Tony's door.
Yeah.
Let's see how he handle this. I was excited. So yeah, great Richie episode.
Yeah, and then we get, I think this is our first reveal of Vito.
Yep.
Now I remember he was in the other one.
Well, I mean, but
right?
him as actually Vito,
the
cast of casted as Vito.
I wonder, did they think we still never got the answer to that? Like, I wonder, did they know that was him, or like did they switch it up or whatever?
That's crazy. That's
remember we came to the conclusion that was his twin, right?
Yeah, that's the theory we rolling with. That's I like that idea. What are some things I gather from this? We got Davey here. He's at this kind of a lower level. Obviously, it's a low level game.
Small time.
You got got Artie Bucco.
McDonald's with that.
Yeah, you got Artie Bucco there gambling. So it's that speaks volumes. He's not going to take any risk. But what do y'all gather from this scene?
It's crazy that you say that they use Artie as to show you like they're not really just playing with real money here. Because I thought the exact same thing. I was like, well, shit, Artie right here. They can't be losing too much money, bro. That's really good point out.
Absolutely, man. Y'all took the words right out of my mouth, man. It's funny how you can put one character in the scene and that tells you everything you need to know about the environment.
It's all credibility for this game.
Absolutely, man. And it had everything to do with Davey too. Just Davey's he's degenerate.
He's so thirsty, bro. Like,
well, I'm gonna say this. The way y'all feel about Hesh, that's how I feel about Davey. Like it burns my soul with this guy.
Really?
When we get there, I'm going to probably have a moment of rant, but he burns my soul just looking at this dude facing this what like this kind of.
He's the happy wanderer. He's making you feel like Tony. He's the happy wanderer. That's him. Like that man ran up with we'll get there, but that man ran up 45 racks with no issue,
bro.
Like you got a fucking problem, bro. You sitting there like that's the equivalent of a happy wanderer. How you gonna get up from this table knowing you in 45 racks in the hole, bro? Stop.
But see, I never looked at him as the happy wanderer.
I do. I think he is specifically introduced in this episode as the person that title applies to.
I you know what, to be honest, I think more of the happy wanderer will be Artie, if anything. To me, I know that's not what they're gauging, but what would you say, Rich?
I'm gonna say maybe in general, but for this episode, I think Davey is supposed to identify that because he has all these problems. Yeah, he's still looking at it like it's no big thing.
It'll be all right. It's just a bad break.
I want to say that I do agree with you, kind of. There is some similarities between him and Hesh because there is this there's this subtle art of being disrespectful and them not even being aware that they're being disrespectful. Like, think about the first time we met Hesh, right? The first time we met Hesh is at the Bada Bing, and he mentioned something about, I heard that, pussy's gonna get hit. Like, to Tony.
Like, who are you?
Hold on. You think somebody gonna do something to my pussy? Like Tony knew, like, bro, what you should know better for even thinking I'm gonna sit down and take something like that to mention it to me as far you know that my dude ain't gonna get hit. You know that.
Yeah.
Stop trying to be funny. The same way Davey is, man. He's just so aloof about everything. It really frustrates you. It makes you want to wring his neck because, like Spike said, $45K and you just acting like nothing. You ain't even got no envelope for me. You ain't got a bill. You ain't got a C note, no nothing.
And you're not nervous about it.
Like something
nigga,
to make you upset.
You here washing your face and shit, nigga. You can't go get my goddamn
hold on.
money.
Okay, hold on. Cause we jump.
Yeah, we can get to that.
Yeah, man.
There's so much here. But right here, Richie says you're already into me 7 G's.
And it ain't number 3 people here. And you want 10 more racks.
Now, I think Artie being here, obviously, it shows a lower level, and this speaks to how Janice is talking to Richie later. You know, when you're looking at there's an exec game. And even how excited when we get there, Richie is coming in versus this low level game. He's already in. He's like, you know, I'm good for it, and going. He's like, all right, man. But ultimately, I think we get Artie and we get Davey, and Artie is doing what Davey was supposed to do. Davey had a misconception on where he stood. He's a civilian like Artie. He's a business owner like Artie. He's married like Artie, has a child like Artie. However, but he seems to have this idea that he can hang outside of his ramifications. That's a part of what burns me up about this guy.
He's a happy wanderer.
Let me ask this though. What was, I think the next episode is like what, Bust Down or like, it's another episode.
D-Girl.
Oh, D-Girl, but I guess the further down where they basically gonna, you know, we'll get there about how the finesse continues. But do you think at all Richie's looking at him as a finesse? By even, yeah,
absolutely. Okay. I think Junior explained it when they were talking. When we get to that scene, he was talking about the credit card shit.
Okay, like
that's how they look at dude. We don't even want you to have to pay the money. As long as you paying the principal, you so happy. Like Junior explained it perfectly. That scenario that he used for the credit cards is exactly what Richie was thinking with Dave and Tony eventually. But Tony just didn't want to put his friend, quote unquote, in that position. But that's the lick for them. We loan sharks. We're going to loan you the money. We know you probably won't be able to pay it back, but you're going to pay the interest, and you'll pay the interest forever until you die. So
great pool. Small scene, Meadows rehearsal.
Big scene.
Okay.
I didn't get this to a lot, but it don't pay off until the end.
Okay.
I didn't get it until probably just the last time I watched it, actually. I always wondered why they threw this shit in.
Okay, what's the setup here? One of y'all can explain to me because I may be missing
something. Did you hear what she asked for? She asked about the solo. And the lady wasn't gonna let her do the solo. She's like, you're being kind of greedy. Like this chick ain't never had a solo. So just remember she asked for the solo.
Okay.
And then at the end, we'll talk about it.
Yep.
But she asked and was denied. The lady told her, no, you can't do this.
Okay. Gotcha. What's that, you, Rich?
No, I was gonna say it just shows that she knows the game. She's got that Tony Soprano in her. The way she even mentioned, you know, I did Spider Woman. I was a sophomore, and now I got college. That look on her face was kind of, all right, maybe I might give in to Meadow if it comes down to it. We'll see as the episode goes on. So it's just setting up her play.
Okay. Yep. The teacher, does she look like Edie Falco to y'all? This was a weird resemblance. Like, I was like, bro, that looked like that could be her sister, bro. Like, yeah, if you look, y'all run that back, just kind of rewind it back and look. She really, I was trying to see if she had a sister or anything, because I was like, I didn't wait for the credits because I didn't want to have to search for what they would name the cast, you know. Yeah. But she really looked like Edie Falco, like she could be her sister. Anyways, Tony meets Junior at, of course, their known business spot at this moment, the doctor's office. He's talking to Junior. He's getting the play on how to run this exec game. This is another big play for Tony on his milestones as boss. We know a few episodes ago, and Commendatory, he got to go to Naples. And so he's making big boss moves. He's got all of the plays here, all of Junior's rackets, with the exception of that one. And here he's getting the whole play. He gets another reveal about his family. He finds out that he had another uncle, Eckel. And They go back and forth, and Junior has one of the best lines that can be used to this day. Rich, what you think about the reveal, and what did you think about this conversation between them two?
I'm assuming the line you're talking about is some people are so far behind in the race that they think they're in front.
Yes, sir.
They think they're leading.
Yeah,
Man, I use that all the time. That is a real thing. It just goes more to Tony in this whole journey of finding himself, man. I mean, from the episode 1, whether we know it or not, that's what kind of the premise of the show is. How do I move in this world? The duality of these worlds that I have to operate in. And it's just finding himself. And he needs to learn more about his family. It's that big thing also. You walk around your whole life thinking you know something, and then you find out all of a sudden you get hit with this bombshell. Like, well, I got another uncle. Like, nobody even mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just how life works from Junior's perspective. Him looking back on how they treated their brother, what society was for his brother, the way they viewed it. He looked off in the distance and said, "What were we thinking then?"
Mm-hmm.
Just that kind of whole aspect of it, and obviously the executive game and Junior knowing we mentioned this prior that life is kind of passing him by.
Yeah,
he's taking what he can get at this point. I mean, he can't even negotiate a full 20%. And I think Tony would have stuck to 10 if he not told this story about his uncle.
Yeah, that's facts.
You know what I mean? So I just got that. Like I said, masculinity is a big theme in this episode. How people view you and your right state of mind. You know, if you're mentally challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious line to me. You know, I remember my mom always talking about my dad's feeble-minded brother, but I always thought she was talking about you. Junior can't catch a break, man.
That's funny. The Junior look what he said. Let me ask you.
Also,
yeah.
I was just gonna say. Also, we learned something about Johnny. Like Johnny was a go-getter. Johnny took care of business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Livia probably kept a lot of the great things that Johnny did from Tony and from the family. You know, we find out about the money that he left. You know, Livia.
That's what I was.
That's what I was. Yep.
Do y'all believe?
Go ahead, Spike.
Because this isn't the first time throughout the series that there's a reference that Livia may have some money, and even further on, when Junior kind of loses it, he's looking for some money that he thought that he buried. Do y'all believe him, or do you think he's basing that off of assumption? Because Livia always act like she's fairly broke, or she don't like know where the money was or didn't have it.
I don't know Junior to lie that much.
What was the money though? That's what I'm wondering.
Where?
Yeah, like it was I guess I'm saying that they never really paid that off. Like there was never really mom had this money in the wall. It was buried in the backyard, or she gave it to Janice, and there was never really. You're talking about what do you say? An envelope that could choke an elephant. Like that's pretty substantial amount of money. Like what would have happened to that? Like we never seen anything come from that.
Olivia probably gave it away. I think based on the first season, it's like, Mom, you're giving away everything. You're not about to die. Like I think she probably just was giving money away. And that's my only idea. But you're absolutely right. That really never was a payoff, but it's a great underplot for Janice and their, living arrangement. But you're absolutely right. This one made me come back on to like, oh, maybe there is money. You know what I mean? When
somewhere right.
When me and Rich talked on the previous episode where it's like, nah, she's using that play to kind of string her along so she don't try to low key get her on the DNR. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
one thing about the story, everything that you guys took away from it, I would agree with, but I really didn't understand why he was telling him then. And it reminded me of another story in the HBO series that y'all Game of Thrones fans, right? Y'all remember when Tyrion was locked up and he was telling the story about his simple-minded cousin that kept squashing the Beatles. And he told that story to Jamie for some reason in that moment. It's just reminded me of that for some reason, as far as them. So.
You know what I thought about too is with them having the brother like that, it made me think about what if that's AJ's problem
or Tony's. Like, because Dr. Melfi asked him, do you feel more open to being in therapy now that you know you had a retarded uncle?
Yeah,
and she said retarded. I did.
Oh,
she said retarded.
Yeah. A direct quote from the Sopranos.
Cancel me.
Nah, that's real because that goes back. That's a great point though, Spike. Because before she said that word, she said the politically correct term.
Mm-hmm.
and then switched it because she knew
down for him.
I got to communicate to him how he can understand it if I'm going to be effective.
Facts.
Yeah, but when we get there, the reason I'm asking that because sure, like maybe Tony could feel that because he had a mental issue. He was, you know the term they use, retarded or whatever, or just mentally not there, slow. That's what Uncle Junior said. He's slow. That really does make me think about AJ. I don't know, was it you, Rich, or it may have been a buddy, a supporter of the show that DM'd me, and we talked about AJ, and he says, no, I think AJ is similar to Carmela's mom.
Oh, that was me, and I said,
that was you.
When you when you talk about the family dynamic and who he's more similar to,
yes,
it was an episode that you and Spike did, and I said I think he most characterizes Carmelo's mom, his grandma, but on her side.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Always, man. AJ is a weird man. Last week there was a moment or a scene when Tony snapped at the phone in the kitchen. And Spike made a reference like, why was AJ in this scene? Like, what was his purpose? You can dare that. You can dare to say that about the entire series. Like, AJ, what's your purpose here, bro?
Facts, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, just nonetheless, I really like this scene. I love when Junior tells his stories. Like I said, Junior may not be the most capable boss or no longer boss, but he doesn't come off to me as a liar like that. To me, I don't know if we know tons of lies that Junior has told versus some of the other characters. Y'all say different? What you think?
No, I would say that Junior, he keeps it a buck.
Yeah.
Okay. We go over to the next scene. Jackie Aprile. He's there for his money to get from Davey. Davey says he's 2 C's short. Is that $2,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he said, like a pimp tells his hoe, keep him coming. Which is a funny line because there's a later line when one of the young boys tried to use some slang about his homie, and he said, what? And he switches his language. Switches his vocabulary, but we'll get to that point once that scene comes. But what did y'all take from this interaction, him being short money and just so casual about this?
Happy Wanderer. I say it again. But also too, it goes to the different like status levels of Tony and Rich. I think Rich's play, as we seen what Tony play was when we seen this play out, that's probably what Richie was looking to do. But Richie's just too small time.
Okay.
Like he don't have the muscle, he don't have the push to be able to take what Tony did with this and turn it into that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's trying to build up to that, which is why he was highly offended that Tony was like giving him wiggle. It's my play right here, and you just getting in here, getting in my way, stepping on my play. So,
yeah.
Agreed. Go ahead, Mo.
I was gonna say yeah. And Richie, he's kind of high risk here because he just can't. We just do 10. So it's like I'm kind of high risk here, so I got to really tread lightly here. Versus Tony ain't been in the can, so it's like, and I got the infrastructure, like you said, I could put a couple guys in front of me to keep me away from actually doing time. Versus Richie, it's like I got to do this play, but I can't put my hands on him too crazy. I can't threaten too crazy. I got to figure out how to do this. You know what I'm saying? So you're absolutely right on that. That's all I wanted to ask. What's your Rich?
That's what I love the most from this scene. It gives you, we all talked about how we love this episode for Richie, and it just gives you that sensible business mind. How do I need to move aspect of him? He tells him a couple of times, don't take this personally, but he sees the outcome. He sees the future.
You know how this gonna work. Yeah.
Yeah, this package
Tony
is
know
light.
how it's gonna work. Yeah.
Exactly, man. This package light now. I know what it's about to be. You think I was just born 10 minutes ago? I don't want to see you at any of my games until you caught up. And he's not doing it in a manner where we see him attack Beansy. He's really doing it like, yo, I'm telling you this for your own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to get caught up before you get yourself in more debt, and it's going to be even bad. And at the end, and that goes with every Richie scene for the most part, he was right. This might be the first episode where we looked at something Richie did and was like, yo, he's actually right. He's got a
big
point.
facts.
Right.
you know, and I just love that it showed that aspect of Richie. All right, he's not just this dickhead that's going around bullying the block. He's actually trying to get back on his feet in the right way.
Right.
It's the game, and we got somebody who doesn't know any better, because this is the person that you would want Richie to, you know, put that hurt on. You want to treat him like he did Beansy, because he's so, like I say, he's so aloof, man.
Yeah.
To the point where it's disrespectful.
See, and he did a great job in this episode. This guy, like, he irritates the shit out of us. We know what Tony Soprano and Rich, we know what their life is like from watching the show. We understand the consequences. We get to see that as the viewer. This dude's just a businessman. He thinking this is like one of his fucking creditors that give him stuff for his store, and he can just tell him, oh, I had a bad month, add it on to the next month, I'll pay it then. Like, I'm eventually going to sell a lot of jock straps, all of this bullshit that you can tell people in the real world. This isn't the real world. This is our world that we've created, bro. You don't do all of that, I'll pay you next week shit. And they know that, and he has no idea, which is why he's pissing us off, because, oh, well, you know, it's just like this time, Richie. Like, nah, nigga, this is the start of a slippery slope that you sliding down at a dangerous pace.
Yeah, and that and that's what just gets me. It's just like, you're right, it's from a business standpoint, but part of it is like it's the specific, and I want any of our white listeners, Italian listeners, I'm talking about specific white person, just like I talk about specific black people, not all black people, but there's this specific white guy that is just has that face and that look like, oh, I mean, you know, it's gonna work out. Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, I have my dad to. It's like
the privilege of being a white man.
Man, it's just like, yeah, it just has that privilege face, and you're talking to the mob. Like, who are you talking to? Anyway, we'll get further on the way he just kind of brushes stuff off. But yeah, man. Richie was absolutely right. He was just like, hey, bro, real talk. Don't be so. Imagine how much more pissed. We'll get there. Because I'll jump way ahead here, but Chris and the young boys at the fish market. I love, this is where, and this I can imagine this must have been right up your alley, Spike, when it comes to the way they began to build up the stakes and all of the pieces. Like, this is the first piece that's being put, well, really, Tony and Uncle Junior, that's the first piece being set up. Then we get here, okay, we need food at the executive game. Who's in charge of the food? Christopher.
The logistics of it, yeah.
Yeah, so they're starting to get the pieces. Then later we'll get Furio's part. We're gonna get Paulie's part.
In the room.
So I'm loving this. Like, I don't think I ever really paid this close attention to this time, and I was like, oh, okay, here's what's going on. But what did y'all gather from this scene? We didn't get a ton of Christopher, but I like the Christophers, the moments that I got here.
The brilliant thing that they do with this show and this scene and why it's so good. It doesn't take a lot for us to understand what's going on. And in this scene, we've seen a similar scenario with Chris going about his shit for the guys, and he had his whole thing with the dude there who tried to disrespect him or whatever it may be. But here we see it's just one season. It didn't take a lot. We didn't have to go through no whole character development thing. We've seen how Chris is bossed up. I got two guys working with me now. Like, you couldn't imagine this nigga pulling a gun out at the fish shop and doing what he did to the guy at the bakery.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't have to say it. They didn't have to go through no progression to get there. They just show you this scene and you get it. You're like, okay, Chris bossing up a little bit. Just like you were saying with Tony and the fit at the PTA meeting. Like, this is the same thing for Chris. He got little slick shit that he's doing when he adding the shit to the weight. You see that he started to develop and get the knowledge that he needs to be in this game. And then you get the reflection also of the two dudes that was him and Brennan in season one.
Yes.
Brandon or whatever the name was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this was a great scene. It's just showing the growth of Christopher.
Man, that was well said, dog. Like, that was real. That was
for real.
He pulled it, man. And that chain of command with, if you have an organization like that, you need the last person to show the next person what to do. Like, Chris is the last person having that position, so it's only right that he's the one showing these two what to do next, man. And it also speaks to that generation gap. Chris suffers from the same thing that they do as well. You know, they end this scene talking about what are we, piss boys? You know, they have to pay for the fish. They got to put it in the trunk, but yes, that's actually what you need to do, man. There's a chain of command. There's deference. There's some work that you got to put in.
Yeah.
This is how this thing continues to go on. Each generation. Yep.
Yep. And Spike mentioned it also. Chris messing with the scale. in that world, there's always a hustle.
Boy,
there's always a hustle. Anytime I get a chance to hustle you, I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm. And was legit offended. The dude thought it was something wrong. Like he was real deal offended.
Yeah,
like that was.
That's how you sell it. That's how you sell it. And that dude at the fish store had an attitude from jump, man. There would have been some words exchanged. You want to buy something? Exactly. Like, what the fuck you mean? Like,
bro,
treat me like a customer, dog.
Yeah. Because he probably knows some guys in the community. He knows they got rackets running that block. And you know, as soon as you see him come in, be like, oh, there goes so and so. So there's one guy that wants to be a hero. But this is what Chris
with some respect. Yeah,
treat me with because last season he's like, you don't respect me. Do my face look like
the strap out, right?
Yeah, so it's like, hey, popping fresh. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like it's not like that. This is what Chris does well. I think when he leads, like in these scenarios, when he's sober. And when he's acting right here. He's acting all. I mean, come on, man, don't play me like. Come on, give me my fish.
He's playing the part. Yeah,
playing the part. When he gets
that,
of
a fucking gangster, not a movie person, not an actor, none of that shit. I'm being a gangster today. When Chris do that, he one of the best in the business.
First season, remember when he did the dog thing? He act like the pedophile teacher or whatever. Like the dog, he's like, oh man, your dog. He was just running out, man. Yeah, you might want to put a collar on him. You want to make sure. Like that whole, like when Chris has to do those schemes, he's great at that. Like that's just a skill he has. Hot take, he could have been acting this entire time. Even though he took the method acting too serious, killing some people, but but yeah, I like that pull, Spike. That's a great pull. Just the young boys look like him a year ago, because I guess we're supposed to kind of reference this as a year prior to season 1 or whatever. So now we go to the next setup for the executive game. Furio books the room. And again, this continuity from season 1 of the
dudes that they called him
so that Jewish father that didn't want to honor the deal said that the son-in-law came to the conclusion on his own. This is that moment. So it's like, no, this is where they had the racket planted. So I was like, oh, that was really good. What did y'all take from this whole scene? It almost seemed like they would do something more higher end, but I guess you can get this off. I guess I thought they would have a flyer hotel situation for an executive game. This kind of felt like a motel situation, but what y'all gather from this though? Like,
well, I think they spoke to it at the end, which was interesting when we talk about all the logistics that they show us do. They spoke to the overhead, which is like, it was a one line off. It was like, we made this much prior to overhead. I think they picked this location because of what you said. They're in the pockets of the guy that owns it. One of the best pulls for me out of this scene, similar to with Meadow later on. Y'all got all these complaints about what the fuck we're doing, but you're still benefiting from this lifestyle. He brought the hooker up there and talking about him getting ahead. Like, you talk all of this shit. Let me ask you how it feel when she's sucking your dick. Oh, okay. Oh, now you ain't got a problem with it. Oh, okay. I think that was great. And it was a theme throughout the episode.
Hey man, Spike batting 1,000. That's pretty much what I took from it as well. Honestly. Yeah. The one thing I love about Furio is he's strictly business. He has a switch where he can turn it on and off, but when it's business, it's business.
Business.
And there's nothing better than when you are trying to make your point and you have valid reasons to back it up. There's never a time where Furio can't draw to something and say, nah, it's not like that. Oh, I can't work for free? Oh, you don't work? Hey, Shorty, come here real quick. Let me ask you something. Do you you know how it goes down? He has always examples to point to. So he leaves the person complaining in a position where you can't say nothing no more. Give me my rooms, bro, going about your business, because you getting something out of this the same way I am.
Yeah, just
no
like
bitch to me. He told him, no bitch to me.
Man, I love that's a great Furio line every time. Like, bro, like I always think about season 1. And there's another moment I think about that season 1. Tony says, like, man, I wipe your feelings, I wipe your feelings with my ass. Or what do you say? Like,
wipe my ass with your feelings.
Yeah. So I just think about that, but I'm sorry, I gotta say this. I don't like this, this Jewish white guy, black woman thing. This is really played out, bro.
I think that speaks to their fascination with black women, though.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's not done in a good way because white men is doing it. Yeah. But I do think it speaks to the fascination, like an underlying tone of, I know they like to get down with black women.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it's consistent, no doubt. But I just like, all right, you know. But I get it. It's just,
asked her about it. She said, "I make that beanie spin."
boy, she's I'm
That was a
rocking
good
this
line from
world,
her.
boy. She's like, yo,
You know
he
he wear the little thing back there, right? She said, "You make that."
Yeah, nah, that line is crazy.
getting his
that was
joint
great.
copped, boy.
Yeah, man, that was funny,
That
bro.
line is crazy.
Yeah,
Man.
but she doing her thizzle, man. Shouts out to the black woman though. So then we get the next setup of the executive game. Now we got a location, we got food, and now what does Paulie represent? The security aspect of it, or what is the role he's playing here with the police officer?
He making sure that the cops stay away from the game.
It's the operations aspect.
Yeah, that's why the cop told him, like, all right, cool, I got you, but if there's any gunshots, we got it. We got to call it in.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else, like, I need y'all to stay away. We got some high rollers coming in. We don't need no interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he told him, don't mess with the guests, don't mess with the tourists. You know, you make our job easy. We make we'll give you the green light to do whatever you need to do at this hotel.
Y'all got free reign to do what y'all need to do.
So I imagine there's probably been some like fights or some kind of moments that have happened in those exec games. So it's like, hey, yo, no matter what happens, nobody come up here. Yeah, except for if it's gunshots.
I'm sure Seal done flipped over a table at a few exec games or something like that.
Oh, I forgot. Christopher said in the fish market, Silvio, stay away from Silvio. He said, no matter what. He's like, man, what did the dude say? You're not freaking listening. Stay away from Silvio. He's crazy. Like, stay away from him, bro. So, like, I forgot about that's a huge line that I kind of missed in a few watches, and I'm like, oh, okay. So he gave him game, but of course that's gonna go over your head. You're not thinking in the moment, but
right. And I mentioned earlier, this episode is a lot about masculinity. It's about power. It's about luck. We have a lot of that in this scene as well with Paulie. When Paulie pulls out the gun and shoots him, where does he say he's gonna shoot him? Right in the nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Your masculinity, all of that. The power, the cop, you're supposed to be in charge, but he lets you know right away. Nah, he disregards him. Go play cops and robbers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't give a fuck about what you're doing, bro. Take this bag and go on about your business.
Hell,
like,
man.
we got the real power here in this street.
Yeah,
so, like, we run everything in this hotel. We security, not y'all.
The rabbit got the gun, boy. I'm the captain now. Like it was so funny to me, just that quick. Like, how about I give you one of these instead? Like, I love when Paulie get like certain bad moments because I know he's about it. Like, Paulie's about it, no matter how goofy he is, no matter how ignorant he is. When it comes down to doing it, like he's here for it. Like, that was the message before. Like, you know,
Paulie true about that life, man.
Yeah. So
if he don't know nothing else, he knows that.
And
I love Paulie's just. I love his dark humor and his wit, man. He was telling him about his dad and how his life been. Hey, I got my own fucking problem.
I have my own. Spike Lee. I thought about Spike Lee immediately. I was like, hey,
that would have definitely been my life. Oh, bro, like
Spike Lee in the Uber. Hey,
I was asking that as a courtesy. I ain't really giving a fuck about what your life is like.
Just tell me you good so we can keep it moving,
bro. Like, he said, man, you get me every time. I'm like, bro, that's crazy, dog. But yeah, that's pretty much the setup. Like, you know, anything else y'all gathered from this? I didn't know if I was digging too deep on the pool. I guess multiple mob guys, the Tony Soprano crew, they all got some police officers under their wing. We see Macasian in season 1. I didn't know if I was digging too deep that Paulie was in the military and, you know, in the army at one point, and he had some connections or something, or, you know, I don't know. Because Paulie.
Money talks. Like this is a normal thing. We see this in all gangster shows. Like, you're paying the person who's gonna make your life easy on the streets. Whether that be the patrol motherfuckers coming through on the neighborhood, the sergeant that got more control, the higher up you get, the more motherfuckers that you're paying to make sure that your life is easy. Mm-hmm. So just him being a mobster, I think, is how that relationship is.
Okay. Anything else y'all gather from that transaction before the exec game?
Nah, I think we all good.
We're good. So we get to the exec game. For one, are y'all surprised at how early we get to the exec game? Because no, not really. Okay.
It's a big
I feel like
deal.
It would be the bulk of the episode. Yeah, we got to about 30 minutes left. It felt about right.
Okay, so we get to the exec game. Tony's in position. Christopher's in position. He got the young boys like, hey, yo, look, do this. Put one tray in between two players. don't do this, do that. Them guys, they in there. And Tony, and I like how Tony's handling them. Like, I feel like
I love the way that they make it a big deal. You can tell Tony's kind of tense. This is his first one. He's trying to make sure everything right. It ain't just I'm Tony Soprano. I love the way that they're making this a big deal.
Yes. What else did you gather from this scene? Well, I guess we can kind of bounce back and forth because this is a pretty drawn out scene. One of the things, even though it seems like a cool setting, and I wanted to speak to this because I don't know if y'all have ever been in this position. I can speak to it because I'm definitely far from gangster. Being in a setting, you might be amongst gangsters or like maybe dudes that are a little more street savvy, and you see them, they laughing, they joking around, and you laughing too. But how quickly stuff can switch, and you're like, oh, these dudes are like for real, And here you got actual killers. You know what I mean? Silvio and Paulie, like, Tony, like all these dudes are real killers. But it's not a cool laughing setting like that. Like they were, so it's kind of tense. And then he's like, hey T, it's Tony. Like don't get it twisted, bro. Like with Matthew or whatever. Like don't get it twisted. Let's deal with that part. How do you feel about Tony with the young boys? You were going into it. You seem like you wanted to say a little bit more about it, Spike. What did you feel about that with him, with the young boys, Tony's interaction, even Christopher's too?
I like how they're kind of letting them be flies on the wall. And the reason that we can tell that Tony sympathizes with them and lets them be there, or Chris even gives them the opportunity, because we've known through storytelling in the Sopranos that all of them, we hear Tony say, you remember we used to peek in the door and they used to run us off. They would tell the story about when Tony tried to rob one of these games or whatever it may be. But you see, this is kind of like a rite of passage. Like they've accepted him enough to be like, okay, you guys are respectable enough to be in here working the room, lighting cigars, serving food and shit, because we know you got some semblance of gangster about you, not gonna go run in your mouth and stuff like that, not gonna try anything dumb. However, you, more than anybody in this room, you got to follow all the fucking rules. You can't be slipping, slacking in no sort of way. I'm going to be on your ass too, pause. So I like that. I like how they were just setting them up to understand how serious this was for them.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Breaking their balls a little bit. I know we'll get to him sending Matt over to clean up after Seal.
My favorite fucking scene. That one of my easily my favorite Seal scene. Easily.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest. But anyway, go ahead. What was you saying?
Before we get there, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and going to your point, you were saying, being in the room with real gangsters, with real killers, there's a certain respect and a certain pageantry and tradition to this. Junior tells Tony how the game even started and how long ago it was. This thing has been in place for years and years and years. So Tony understands the seriousness of it. These guys wouldn't even show up if they didn't have any kind of guarantee that their safety would be in play. That's why the whole Richie-Tony dynamic and Davey dynamic was so out of place, because I'm sure throughout the years they've been doing this game, they haven't seen anything like that, because this is a safe space. It kind of reminds me of, if we talk about The Wire, the Sunday Truce. Like, no matter how gangster it is, no matter how much you move, there's still a certain rule and elements that you follow to where this doesn't spill over into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quick side note, that's probably some of the funniest shit on The Wire. How Avon left them niggas sitting down there in the prison home waiting all day. Bruh. The way he looked at them when Slim Charles was like, on a Sunday? Y'all put him on a good hat?
Bro, I heard no dope on Sundays.
Yeah, bro. Hey, we can. I know this is a Sopranos podcast.
Yeah,
Mo, you know how I feel about The Wire, man.
Of course.
Whatever time we speak about that show, man, I might take up an hour just talking about that scene itself, man. That shit is hilarious, man. Because the way he walks in and gives them that look, and he gave. I don't want to go too far off track.
Look at him. Anyway, look, he ready to cook. He ready to cook, boy.
Yeah, man. Anyway,
we have to have a wild conversation.
But yeah, man, it just shows how serious this game is. Other than the location and the setting, this is a real big dog game.
Yeah, we got doctors, we got entertainers, we got gangsters in here.
Yeah.
Like this,
we got Johnny Sack from New York.
Part of the reason too, not even the violence part of it with Richie and your mans, but part of the reason, like the decorum is gone. The doctor, you notice, they're like, wait, this motherfucker been in here playing with us and he ain't got no money. Like it almost lessens the value once they realize, like, Richie, they know he not Tony. Like, and then this dude, he owe Richie. So what the fuck is he even sitting at the table with us for? Like, and then that's when the doc is like, yeah, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
They be turning into Artie.
Yeah, real quick.
Just that one player that doesn't
real quick,
fit
man,
at this
like,
table.
bro, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, and it brings out the validity of the game. Like, this is supposed to be why are you letting anybody just walk into this game?
Yeah. Okay, so the young boy. Let's get to the young boy Silvio scene since we're talking to young boys. So Tony, this is like frat boy vibe right here. This is Rush like vibe right here to be where he's like, hey yo, put the trays between, and he's going into it and he's dealing with them gently. You know, everything. I was a part of a brotherhood on campus, so I understand like certain elements of like, okay, this is just a part of, you got to guard this party, do this, and then when they set you up on a BS mission, like I've been a part of both sides of that. So when I seen this time it resonated so different. And so he's like, hey, you see the cheese under Sil's foot? Hey, go ahead, sweep that up. And immediately Silvio Dante.
Ooh, one of the best performers. And it speaks to also like what you're just saying. It speaks to how well you know your friends. We probably all are guilty of this. You set like a waiter up and say, hey man, go over there and tell him real quick. Because you know your friends react. You know what they're gonna do like 100% of the time. You have no doubt when this happens, how they're gonna react. And this was great, bro.
Even there's a build up with Sil because he's already starting to get mad. Like that's why I didn't realize they're slow building this thing up with Silvio where, you know, at this point, Paulie's out the game, which speaks to these are the things I kind of pay a closer attention to. Paulie's out of the game. You start to see like some of the people start to come off the table. It speaks to the volumes of the type of gamblers they are. Paulie's not a gambler like that. He's very frugal. So I like the
everybody giving him shit too.
Yeah, like Paulie ain't got nothing. You know, he ain't never got nothing. Like flat out. And Paulie, he cool with it. Hey, ask him what he does for a living. Like, oh man. But like that Silvio, like, man, I stuffed cheese in my socks. I love
no. Before you even get there, he said, "What the fuck are you doing here? You fucking moron! You fucking playing Hazel, bro." That said it all, but that was so fucking good.
I'm trying to lead a cheese there, like the whole little study. I'm trying to lead a good cheese there. Here,
why?
Here.
Why now?
He said, "Who the fuck are you, Hazel?"
Bro, I thought you
Tony, where you get these idiots, bro?
Yeah, I'm about to say the way Spike talk about these two, you would have thought Spike wrote that line.
Oh man,
fucking idiots.
Cause Tony like still starts going off on everybody. Like once he does that, he starts going off on everybody. What are you doing? Why now? What? Take the cheese. Here. I stick cheese in my socks so I could think about your sisters. Like the way he looked, like he probably looked like he spit on him, bro.
The next morning,
bro. And then he just
said, "I love fucking cheese in my feet. When you see fucking cheese in my feet, leave it there.
Leave it there, dude." Sil, you would have thought he was 6'7", some big cocky. This dude is so small. Man. He's not even big like the later season. He's so small. He's talking like a big giant nigga. Like, bro, oh man,
and it's so much
just
good
goes to
stuff.
show. Yeah, it shows the other side of Sil too, man. We don't see Sil like that, so that's why we love it. That's why that's one of Spike's favorite scenes because we don't see Sil get amped up like this.
Yeah,
he usually don't lose his cool, man. It's only a couple times throughout the series that he lost his cool, and the kicker for me. Him throwing the food on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want something to fucking do
here.
And
it's just
another very subtle thing is like nobody at the table moves. Nobody said anything. It wasn't a crazy look. Everybody was still in their hands like, yeah, we knew this was coming at some point. Unfortunately, it had to be you, my nigga. Man, this was great, bro.
Yeah. Because no violence is happening. He just snapping.
Yeah,
he's one of those
just going off.
Yeah, he's just going off, but it's like, bro, how hard was it to shoot this scene?
Oh man.
Because the Matthew guy standing there, like to the face that Sylvia, he's like, you know how they be talking about how you see somebody's face, they be having like the little glass view. It's like to say, I stick cheese. Like, bro, I don't know how you kept a straight, all of y'all. Like, dude, it's just leave it like, oh man. Anyway, we can spend time with that for a long time, like Rich says. But it did
incredible scene.
Incredible. And then, you know, Paulie has a joke. He talks about this Titanic, a rising joke, making a penis joke about the penis doctor or whatever. So he making money, because the dude is paying.
Masculinity.
Yeah.
And the doctor about over him too. He hit this guy. Goes again with another one of these bullshit jokes.
Yeah, right.
If anybody gonna wear a joke out, it's gonna be Paul. Right. You know that.
Yeah.
Thanks. But they do show something key there too. Your man Davey was eating it first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that goes to the degenerate part of him. Like, you're winning. Of course, you can't just get up and leave because that ain't proper gambling etiquette. But he didn't even take it easy after he was up.
Yeah.
And it was a big.
And Silvio told him, he's like, bro, like he said, see, I told you had that. Like Silvio was talking to Tony. He was like, man, F you too. And then he told the doctor, man, go fix a stick. Like, bro, it's like, I was like, don't you got to fix or something? Like, he just talking crazy to everybody, bro. This is sorry.
Are y'all surprised that Tony let Davey in the game?
That's a really good question.
That's where we know that Tony let Davey in because clearly Davey has a business. So this racket is falling in my hand. I actually don't care. Tony don't actually care about Davey at all.
I think I disagree with it.
Here's why I believe he don't care about Davey. Because Davey to me comes off as this type of dude in high school that, because you'll see like he Tony has this thing, but don't reminisce about me. Like certain little, you remember when the dudes used to pick on you? You remember when? So it's like these certain things that he tries to get off on Tony. So it makes me feel like you was like kind of big homie. You was kind of the popular dude. You was kind of this and that versus Artie. Artie was actually his actual friend. Now Artie was friends with Davey. So it almost seemed like Davey was a friend of Artie's that just tagged along with them too. But I don't think Tony was really friends with him. He just was around. Like, that's my homeboy's homeboy. But I don't think Tony really was homeboys with him like that, like Artie.
I look at it a little differently. I think that, and we probably could relate to this, when you do things in life and you've reached a certain amount of success, you also want people who know you from back in the day, who come up around you to know, quote unquote, the real you. You want them to kind of enjoy some of that success as well. Like, you want them to be privy to that. And I think that was the consideration that Tony gave him. I don't think at that point that he was looking for the long play. I think at that point he was looking at it like what you told him about what he said about the jock straps. Like, bro, I've been selling jock straps for give me some excitement. And who or what type of gangster or former friend would I be if I weren't able to provide a grown man with the experience that he's looking for if I'm able to? I can't be his dad. I can't tell him, oh, don't do this and try to navigate his life. Mm-hmm. If he wants in, I have the power to let him in. This is an old friend of mine. Why not let him experience this? Mm-hmm. So I do kind of agree and disagree with you, Mo, because the why not let him experience this aspect of it is, I don't give a fuck if he loses or not, because I know what's going to happen if he don't come up with my money. However, there's another aspect of it as well where Tony is like, I always feel like shit, or whatever he was telling Dr. Melfi. These are one of the things that make him feel better. Like, I got to this position so I could do shit like this. Let one of my friends in the executive game. So,
okay.
Yeah, I can understand, because he did tell him at the beginning when he first approached him outside of school, like, yo, this game ain't for you. And I think after a while it became, all right, well, you're using your relationship to get in here. When am I going to experience something like that again? To Spike's point, all right, cool, I'm going to let you in. But he also kept it very direct with him. He told him multiple times, Davey said something, I'll have it to you in a short time. Don't say short if you don't mean short.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't that, man. I'm telling you right now, before you even sit down in this game, this relationship, this friendship that you're using to even get inside the game, all of that comes to a halt.
Out of the window.
If anything goes south.
Yep. And nigga, I ain't Richie either.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, but I ain't Richie, bro. Like, you come here losing some money, it's going to be different consequences. But
right. Well, just to break it up for a quick second, there's a scene where Davey's son picks up Meadow. Anything y'all get from that? Because I may have missed something.
I think they were just trying to show us the car.
Okay. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Affirmative action too. Remember, that was a big deal. This is
black. Yeah, she said I'm black.
Affirmative action was a big thing back then, and just that whole aspect of her.
Rich.
Yeah, that's a great pull. That's why we got this
She said,
glorified
her
crew
mom?
of good
You seen her
earners.
mom? I'm blacker than her.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I remember people used to.
But
Remember that in
that's the
barbershop?
Tony Soprano in Meadow though. That's the lineage right there.
It is. It is. You think you're like your mom, but you're all me. Like
Nah, she all Tony, right?
Yeah, that's all him right there. We go back now to the exec game. We get to the morning, and Tony wakes up, and I okay. First off, how long has this game been? So this just went on all night. This is not like a few days or whatever. Or
This
what
normal. I know people that do this, like that gamble like this. Like this is a normal thing for poker players. Like it's a big dog game like this. Like that shit can go on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you talking about people with millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And you losing money, winning money, losing money, winning money. You can sit there all night. I know niggas that have sit there all night.
Wow.
You just gambling.
Wow.
Sun up, sun go back down. Somebody bring some food by.
Mm-hmm.
Like I seen niggas shoot dice like this. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Did you think it was exaggerated?
No, I believed it because I know there's been things where mob guys have spoke about this show in certain things where it's like, yo, they really got us in a lot of respects. Like I've seen interviews and stuff how they feel about Sopranos, and they've even gotten phone calls from mob guys like saying, hey, yo, like that whole Don wore shorts, that was a real thing from a mob guy that actually called. I believe James Gandolfini said, hey, real Don doesn't wear shorts, so they put it in the script. With Carmine later down the road. So it's like the mob guys were having respect, like, yo, even them getting made, like they got us, like where they get this stuff from, So I definitely believe this. I didn't believe it was exaggerated by any means. I just thought it was real interesting. Chris is still on his post. Before I go further, Rich, what did you gather from the fact that Tony fell asleep, which is pretty casual? Johnny Sack as well, and Paulie as well, and he asked how much is he into? He was like 45 boxes of ZD. What did you gather from that, bro?
He knew right then, like, oh shit. Davey done found his way in this game. Not only did, but he's overstepped. 45, bruh. 45,000 in a night is insane.
Oh man, you know how mad I got watching this? I don't know why. I'm trying to.
It's
I'm
insane,
trying to
and just the look on Tony's face when he's just like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like 25, and Chris tells him like, "Yeah, he said you're okay at another 10." And there weren't any rules that were placed, and there were no special instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Tony didn't pull nobody to the side and say, "Yo, this guy got a hard cap limit of 10K." 15K.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what he says. If you don't hear the words come out of my mouth directly, don't give it to him. Mm-hmm. So he racked up a $45,000 bill real easy. And like I said, it's the nonchalantness of Davey that upsets you. Like I couldn't imagine owing somebody 45 and just casually being like, "Oh man, okay, my luck just went bad. You want to go get a spitch?"
Man, I know how that thing. You'll wake up when you didn't expect to fall asleep or something, and you just got to gather yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think James Gandolfini done a great job. Like he plays that through that motion. You wake up, you gather yourself, you look over, you see Davey still there. You're like, wait, what the fuck is he still doing here? Like either he done made a whole lot of fucking money or somebody in a whole lot of fucking trouble, but it ain't no in between. Mm-hmm. Like so, like that. I love him gathering himself and that being the first question. Like, wait, how many is he into us for? Mm-hmm. And then Chris giving him an answer like, I mean, you didn't say nothing. Like you said, Rich, there were no parameters set. Yeah. This is a big dog game. If anybody else had asked for this, we know they're good for it. That's why they're here. Mm-hmm. Boom. So now the mistake is back on Tony. Like he shouldn't even been here if this nigga gonna run up a $45,000 line of credit. Mm-hmm. And then Richie walks in.
And
great.
But Tony, the way he reacts, he does a subtle reaction and he walks to the bathroom like one of man. So he kind of walks off for a second, like you said, and then Richie walks in.
Because he probably want to hope too, and just to nail it in. As a business owner, Tony probably wants to hope, like, well, maybe he got more money than I think he.
Yeah.
Like he probably want to think that, like, okay, maybe get access to this shit. Maybe know something I don't. So.
Yeah, he's putting his kid through college. He got money like us. We in the same kind of.
We go to people go to the same private school. Maybe there's some type of way. Maybe it's something I don't know.
He probably owns his house just like we own ours. There's a lot of similarities in regards to like, okay, because you got corporate guys here that they can ball with the mob guys. Nonetheless, we got here 2 different ways, but we got here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, maybe he can ball out with us. You know what I'm saying? But then you find out he doesn't. Richie comes in. Hey, look at this freaking lineup. Johnny
Wait, did
Sack.
y'all wait?
Like, dude.
So wait, it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
What the fuck is Richie like? I almost not that I'm questioning the writing or anything, but I just wondered as an inquisitive person, like, I wonder what the fuck he was doing. He knew the game was going on, didn't come in all night, but I'm trying to come early, first thing in the morning, and catch what scraps or see what's going on. Like, what y'all think his process was is showing up there like 9 o'clock in the morning?
I don't know.
I think he goes to that. I think he was just trying to peek his head in and see what's going on. He knows that they're playing all night. And if he comes in at the morning when everybody's a little bit more, tired, downtrodden, maybe he can have a little bit better advantage in some kind of conversation or something. I don't know if he came to play. I think he just wanted to check the scene, make his presence felt.
That's a hell of a lifestyle right there, bro. You think about that. You wake up, you putting your clothes on. I'm gonna swing by the executive game. The first thing in the morning. That's crazy.
That's my day. And then you think, well, we think too, Richie's trying to build towards something. I think as much as he has a strong disdain for Tony, he does respect what Tony's doing. And we'll get later about talking about, okay, it's your
he respect the game.
He respect the game, and he respect that, as much as I don't like Tony, he was the little homie, now he the boss. I don't like it. Now he's doing this.
I respect the game.
And I respect the game, recognize he's doing this. And so I think that there's some subtle things that he's doing that's trying to like, okay, bro, take it easy. You put Beansy in a hospital, now you really ain't getting your racket. You know what I mean? Now you really can't get your finesse. So he comes in here and he's excited. I think he's showing his face just to maybe make some, possible deals, or just like, hey, I'm still kind of a big deal. I know I ain't in the exec game, but hey, I'm Richie April. You know what I mean? So I think maybe something along those lines. But when he sees Davey, everything, it's almost like you could drop the "You Got Served" music when when the dude switched sides on it. Was like, hey, what you doing here? And it's like, doom. Like he's like, what the are you doing here? How'd you get in here?
Rightfully so too, though.
Same as you through the front door. Yeah. Do you think Davey was talking this way because he's flat out still doesn't get the idea of it, or do you think he felt like low key I'm protected? You're not about to do nothing here.
Did he say that, or did Tony say that?
Tony said that.
Oh, Tony said that, right? Okay, Tony said that. Okay,
but Davey did say, "What did I do, Rich?"
He was like, "Hi, Rich." Dumb. Like,
the hi, Rich would have set me off. Like this is one of the things I don't blame Richie at all. Like I think that he acted within reason, because one, when he walks in, hey, look at this fucking lineup, and then you see this scrub who's playing your games, who owes you $7,000. And you already have this like angst with Tony about like, I mean, he ain't old school enough. So I think what goes through Richie's mind at that moment is like, well, wait, what the fuck is he doing? Like, are they playing me? Like, why would he even be in here? How did he get in here if he got the type of money that these people are supposed to have? And this nigga owe me some racks. Like something ain't right. Like something smells funny. So I don't blame Richie for reacting the way that he did.
Hey man, I've done more for less.
Man, listen to me, brother.
Bro,
7,000. You in here running it up? Oh no!
I should stab your fucking eye out.
Like he said, like Tony, like he told Tony, man, send that man outside. Let him deal with me. Fuck all of this shit you talking about, bro. Send him outside right now.
Yeah, he's like, what did I do? He's like, boy, I should stab your eye out. And then Chris touches him. He's like, get your hands off of me. And he's like, hey, don't threaten me. He said, man, I got a hard on for you already. I'm like, hey, let's go.
Give me a reason.
Like, give me a reason, boy. I'm ready to put up, boy. Richie's like,
this one I was like, oh, Richie about to like it. Like this,
Richie going out Scarface style, boy.
That's like, what I was thinking watching this for the first time. I'm like, okay, Tony got a problem.
Yeah, he got Richie a real problem.
Yeah, man. Richie was not wrong in any of this, man. Like Tony, every time I watch this episode, I understand why he doesn't. But man, Tony should have sent Davey outside to handle that with Richie. That would have avoided a lot of problems. Like I said, if you run the game, you got to make sure your people protected. You don't want that reputation out there. But dog, and Tony's caught off guard because he didn't know that he owed Richie that bread. And I'm sure if he did know, I would like to believe that if he did know that, Tony would have been like, yo, not only stop talking to me, leave. Like you
Fuck
violating
outta
so
here.
crazy,
Yeah.
and you trying to play me because
You
owe
making me
somebody
look
else.
crazy.
Exactly. Knowing you owe somebody some money and you trying to rack up more debt, like, come on, bro. Like, what you want? So the fact that he didn't know, I don't know. But like I said, that power dynamic, we see Richie do it to Davey, and we see Tony scoop up Richie.
Don't make me embarrass you. Was his line.
Yeah, I can definitely get
and
you done.
I love the sense that Tony is physically imposing too.
Yeah.
Like it ain't no thing where like, oh, I can get you whacked, I can get you hit. I'm an old ass man like Junior. It's like, no, I will kick your ass right here, then kill you, bro. You're like, I can literally fuck you up.
Yeah.
Don't make me embarrass you. That's what I like about his character.
Yeah. And see, this is what I didn't like. Is these white guys and their money, and all of a sudden you see one dude backing up the penis doctor, backing up like, oh, and they're like, you know what, I gotta go back me up. It's like, you niggas come in here act like y'all don't know y'all dealing with mob guys, bro. Stop.
Nah, I don't think that's fair though, Mo.
Nah,
like,
bro.
That ain't what they there for though.
It don't matter.
And
that's the reason. That's the
reason. Well, that's the reason that Tony was so meticulous about everything and how things play out. These dudes are not about the same life that we are. Any resemblance of violence, gangsterism, it's gonna ruin this. Everybody need to be on their best fucking behavior. And I think that scene, that line from the doctor, that was a perfect playoff. Because as we look at this, like, well, why are they being so careful? They're giving all these instructions to niggas and shit like that. Like, why are they doing that? Because like these guys, one, know they're not supposed to be there. Like we're professionals. I'm a doctor. I'm a fucking entertainer, Frank Sinatra Jr. Like this is shady shit for me. The last thing I want is the news to come, the police to come, something to happen, somebody get killed, and now my name is in the story. Oh, he was allegedly there. Somebody seen me there because the press or the media showed up. So I think that it's right on track for him to be like, nah, bro, like, one, you got this nigga sitting at the table to owe somebody money, which I wasn't aware of. Two, you got this other nigga come from the outside, like, and he act like he ain't got no respect for nobody. And three, you had to put your hands on him to even get him like to calm down. Like, I'm out. If I was a straight and arrow corporate nigga in there with them, that would have been my sign to us.
Yeah, no, they were right here.
I've been here for a couple of days, hours, so yeah, it's time for me to go.
Well, yeah, I guess they just shady men that think that, it's just this, anyway.
They were scared. They're not used to that. They're not used. If you're not used to being in a room full of, let's say somebody pull a gun out, right? Let's say somebody pull the strap out. If you're not used to that, that's not part of your everyday life. That is going to spook the shit out of you. Yo, what's going on? What you about to do with that? Their comfort zone was violated, and I got too much bread with me for that to happen, man. I'd rather just leave because unlike everybody else at that game, they don't know how to handle themselves if shit pop off.
Yeah.
They easily become victims. Like, I got to get up out of here. I'm out of my comfort zone now. Like, this done went too far. I'm going home.
Facts.
Okay, so then they go outside, and Richie is heated. He's going back and forth with Tony. Tony did what the boss is supposed to do, but I did not like how Tony handled this because it was like, okay, bro, I get the exact game. Yeah, you're going to chastise him, of course, because this is big deal, big boss business. I'm the boss, and you keep being a headache. But at the same time, I already was working, David, so I felt like you should have processed where I'm coming from at least to say, of course, eventually, like, you'll get your money when I get mine, but it's like, bro, I just told this nigga not to go and be gambling. Imagine my surprise. But then again, it's like, what were you doing here? So I don't know. Rich, what did you take from this outside interaction between Tone and Richie?
Just kind of like what I said earlier, man. I understand why Tony didn't, but he should have let Richie deal with that because Davey's he's not even a friend of theirs. Now, unfortunately, he's into me larger than he's into you. So I got to get mine before you do anything to this dude, especially since you did violate my game. You raise hands at my game. I get that aspect. But sometimes you got to call it, like I said, the power dynamic, as I mentioned, that's a theme throughout this episode. Tony has to have the upper hand on Richie. But, man, nah, man, you got to go settle this debt. Like, it just from man-to-man perspective, bro. Davey, you got to go out there and talk to Richie because I didn't even know none of that was going on.
Yeah.
Like, I can't shut you out from that because he acted like Richie was wrong. In a sense, he was, but in a large majority, he was not.
Yeah.
Facts. And Richie told him, Tony, you act like you're in a different fucking business from me.
Yeah.
And you're not. I think we all praising Richie for this episode, rightfully so, because it was a great Richie episode. But the problem was the previous episode, the other shit that he did.
Yep.
Had this been the first encounter, like if it wasn't no mall meeting, if it wasn't no I'm walking in the house and you fucking my sister and you got your boxers on, you won't put your pants on when you talk to me. If none of that had happened, I do think Tony's like, well, okay, yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
But now, Richie, you're just really a thorn in my side. And I don't really give a fuck if you get your money.
Right.
And that's the reason that Richie has the right to be mad, because you know deep down, nigga, you supposed to send this nigga outside. I don't give a fuck how much he owe you or anything. Send him outside, because that's how we do business. That's what we do. But Richie had too much baggage. It was too much of the previous shit. You fucking my sister. You did all this other shit to Beansy, like all that bullshit that you did. Now I ain't fucking with you. So yeah, you got the right of way, but I'm gonna step in the way because I'm the boss.
Yeah, he got it. I get it, because it's a lack of communication across the board. It's the coincidence of all of this happening is why this is happening this way. But yeah, and then it's like you said, because of the previous stuff. So it's like I can't trust you to put hands on him and threaten him.
Yeah, like I don't know
because
you're not gonna kill this nigga.
I seen what you did to Beansy. Oh yeah, I did back off, and then I put it in drive. Like that's, you know what I mean? I can't trust you. Might put it in drive on this nigga for real. So I can't trust. Yeah, bro, I can't trust you for real. So because he owed me 45 grand, so I can't even give you that opportunity. Now, you know, Tony's thinking about this. That's why I think Tony really, really gets mad. I mean, when we get there, of course, it's not just. I think there's some of Richie's thoughts in there that he is mad from a principle standpoint. You know what I'm saying? I still think that at this point of Tony's mob career, he's still a man of principle. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's a part of his anger later. But Richie, he walks off. He does that gangster walk. He kind of looks back on the slide,
Spit
like,
on him.
Yeah, kind of like I'm just making sure you don't pull up on me though.
Definitely respect.
Yeah,
that was definitely that spit was disrespectful. Facts.
And
man, Richie had every right to be upset. Man.
I was mad with him, boy.
He fucked up, bro. Like this nigga, I slick might have waited in the parking lot for that nigga coming out.
100%. Same way he was creeping for Beansy, I would have been waiting.
Same thing. The audacity and like you said, the most disrespectful line. Like white people don't even know that they do. Hey, Rich, what?
What did I do?
Nigga, is you serious? Yeah.
And then I wanted to point out, so we get back, and this is kind of stretching out a little bit, but that's how long the exec game really kind of ran. We get back and Tony sees Davey in the bathroom and he's washing his face off. And it's funny because in the morning, Silvio's, his whole demeanor was different. He's like, hey, man, hey, man, what a game. Like,
he been eating. He been winning.
Got that bread back, funny.
Yeah, I got my bag back. That's so funny when people when somebody's real heated in the game and then they turn it around and start getting happy. That is the funniest. I grew up with too many times my cousins and them got mad and they turned around. They happy because they winning. But anyway, Tony comes to the bathroom and Davey's sitting there slow rubbing his face, just acting like just it's whatever. So Tony's telling him straight up like, hey, yo, bro, you got 1 day. And
I love this. I'm
gonna give you 1 day, sleep it off, and we going from there. And he's like, hey, shut up. This is what we're doing. And he's sitting there like, man, I could use a Schwitz. Can you use a Schwitz? What is a Schwitz? That's the first. What is that? A drink?
What the fuck
it's like that. It's like that deep. Remember in season 1 when Paulie took Big P to try to get him to strip down naked so we could see if he had a wire? That's a Schwitz. It's almost like a sauna, like a steam room.
Oh, good point. Gotcha. Yeah, you're right. I remember him saying
that's what that is, man. That's real big, especially in Jersey and New York. That's something real big. So it's like a expanded sauna.
Like a steam room, like bathhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, if you think about that scene with Paulie and Big P, them in the locker room and all that everything they were at, that was for a Schwitz.
Yeah. Okay.
Tony.
It's still that when he walk in and Davey goes, oh wow, he was pissed. I love how Tony like, I'm not buying into none of this, bro. You got 1 day. All that we friends shit, all that shit is played out. He broke a little bit when he extended and then gave him 2 days because of the shit he said about like our friend, like Davey good, like he white man good, like he white man, like he white man good.
That white man trustworthy face,
like that. Yeah, come on, bro. Tony said, I'm giving you 1 day,
Mhm.
and then I'm coming to get my money. And he was, oh, okay, cool. Like nonchalant, like scrubbing it off, like, oh, if I don't give him his money, it's still gonna be Tony Soprano. Like,
He
nah,
had
you need to understand who you playing with.
he had the nerve to look at Tony in his face and say, "Tony, did I do something to insult you?"
Oh man,
Like, come,
bro.
that's what separates it, man. It's you can't be this
Like
oblivious
oblivious,
to
yes.
what's going on, and that just shows how out of depth Davey is from his regular world. He's in so deep he doesn't even know it. But
Yeah.
come
You
on,
don't even see it.
yeah, man, stop.
And it makes me so mad because it's this, and it just shows you too that season one on the B plot on Boca where Tony is playing golf with the white men, and we see the cultural difference between being Italian and just being like the regular white American guy, and kind of how Tony held them in high regard and all that, and they kind of looked at him. We talked about like kind of the zoo effect, like a main attraction, and so I feel like here it's kind of that. Oh, well, David, he's a corporate guy. He's a regular guy. I'm in. I got executive buddies. I got corporate buddies. And it's just like, bro, you trash too. Like, I just, man, this dude.
And it's crazy because Davey Italian. He got a valet in his last name.
Yep. That's so now Silvio, he's chilling, he's eating good. He's like, hey man, I'm good. And they basically get the big reveal, and he says that, how do we do tonight? And they got 80 grand. So I don't know what they started with. After expenses, 80 grand. So would they have had more if he didn't lose the 45?
Nah, that's counted in there.
Oh, so he really didn't lose 45.
Money. Who?
I'm trying to, this is where I got confused. They came up 80 grand.
That's how much the house made.
Yes.
Like for hosting the game. So each player is paying into, in the different pots, the house collects money from the game.
Okay.
Which is how Tony and the guys make their money from the executive game, which is why it's a big deal. When you have guys who have this much money, you can charge more as the house, which is the whole reason why they hold these games. Okay. Right. So you can charge more as the house, like per hand or whatever the fee is. There's a certain amount that goes to the person that's hosting the game. And they made 80,000 from that. That's separate from the 45,000 that he owed Tony.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So that's a personal loan that Tony did right there.
Well, that's it's essentially just a line of credit.
Okay.
Like you're coming in, like the reason that it's a big deal that you're even in there, because like you don't have to have 45,000 in your pocket. I'm extending you this line of credit, assuming that you're good for it, which is why it's such a big deal to even be in the game. Like I can go to Richie's game and nobody's verifying that I got to have this type of money or whatever it may be, like you said. But with this game, these guys are such high rollers that the money's there.
Okay, because dude said I'll settle up with you next time. So okay, yeah. Maybe that's probably
part of it too. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Anything else y'all gather from this transaction in this morning, Ricks? You gather anything else from this game and the last results of them, kind of taking everything in?
No, other than Richie coming through, rightfully so, and kind of blowing up the spot. It was a pretty successful first executive game for Tony.
Okay. I'm going to throw it back in your court. We get a small scene here. You're good at picking out details. Just this meadow rehearsal with Eric, and Tony's trying to rest. What is this about? It's just I just didn't understand this plot at all, other than the family, both sides of the family end up tying in together, and this is Tony's life. But what did you gather anything specific from this scene?
Most importantly, more than the scene itself, I think it leads into the Melky scene with just Tony's whole issue with even understanding why he's at therapy, and he got the world by the balls. He should feel good. Now you see somebody that you actually know, you have a relationship with, and they get the short end of the stick. This guy was retired for 1 day, and then falls off of a roof while he's trying to change the satellite dish. And Melfi points out, like, he's part of the unlucky now. He's not the happy wanderer as you seem to despise. Now, does that give you any kind of validity to come into therapy? Because you had something like this happen, or I think mentioning it back to the uncle. finding out his uncle was, mentally disabled.
Mm-hmm.
Does that give you any, since you're looking so hard for some kind of sad story to be here,
Mm-hmm.
does any of this give you any kind of validity to it? And also just a quick generation gap, like the fact that Meadow, as a kid, people, but you don't know them. You don't know care enough to even ask some type of questions, man. She's rehearsing, getting ready for college. That don't mean nothing to her. Oh, he died. All right, cool. I'll tell somebody when
I'll let somebody know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's almost as if Tony didn't say any. Well, nah, she did mention it first. She mentioned it first, but yeah, it wasn't prevalent to her. I mean, somebody just died, and Tony even said, like, this guy's here almost every Christmas Eve. You don't got enough in you to even ask how or what, and she's like, whatever. No.
It speaks to the generational stuff that we were talking about in previous scenes in the episode, even in the fish market. Like, this is showing the differences and the deterioration of the generations as they continue to develop in the new age. Like from Paulie's generation to Tony's dad generation to Tony's generation to even Meadow. Like he said, like, this dude's here every Christmas Eve, and you don't even think to ask. Like, she's like, yeah, fuck it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know him. And it just doesn't register to Tony, because in his world, he feels like in his generation, these are standard questions that we would do. And also, I think it doubles down on the relationship with Eric. We had to have more meat on the bone from when that car got took and given to her. So we had to know how close him and Meadow was too.
Yeah, and Paul's there too, by the way. I let you slide early on the other one, but then I gotta go. I gotta call you out there, brother. It wouldn't be good earners without some ignorance. I love it. All right, so that's pretty much. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about? We kind of tied those scenes together, the therapy and the Meadow and Eric scene. Y'all get anything else y'all want to elaborate on the happy wanderer concept right here, or? Nah. Okay. We go to Tom Sr. That's the uncle that they referred to. We go to the funeral, and I was going to say this is our first funeral scene, but there was one season 1. I forgot when Uncle Junior, where Mikey was just, rest in peace, Mikey, but he was just going in about, this hit and everything. But we get this scene, and this is the first time Tony has seen his mother since that hospital, the hospital situation of the finale of season 1. Is that correct?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. I think she's been around. Yeah. She's been mentioned, but I don't think he's seen her.
Okay, so what did y'all gather? The funny thing, just the Betty Davis back there. There's a lady
without even turning around, and
without even
sobbing too. That was a good thing about it.
Betty Davis. Yeah. What y'all gather from this funeral scene? The funeral scenes are always a really interesting thing for me with this show. I really like funeral scenes. I don't know exactly why yet, but maybe I'll figure it out as we keep going. But I really like funeral scenes. It's something very, I guess it's just that it keeps you kind of grounded in the reality, like everybody has a start and an end in the show and in real life, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
You're more liable to let bygones be bygones in the setting of a funeral. It puts things in perspective, man. None of this is guaranteed. We could be going tomorrow. How deep is this issue that I'm holding on to? So that makes sense why you feel that way.
Facts.
So Olivia's crying about him, and Tony's frustrated, and I'd imagine the frustration level is so high. It's like you're sitting there crying about him, but you wanted to kill your own baby. You know what I mean? You wanted to kill me, your own son. And so he's ready to get out of there. And it's great acting because he looked like he almost got out before Carmela grabbed him and said, hey, no, we paid our respects. I mean, no, you can't just do that. And he's like, no, we paid our respects and now we're leaving. And she says, this may come as a surprise to you, but everybody's not here for the Sopranos, to see the Sopranos kill each other. What did y'all think about this here? I understand it's hard because she's right in a sense. You should be sensitive to the fact that this is why you're here. But on the other side of it, it is like, good and dang on well. You in last episode, you just slammed the door on Junior. So you know good and dang on well, like, you don't want to be around Junior. You know I don't want to be around my mama. Like, I don't know. What was the play here?
Well, for me, going back to what I just said, usually your guard is down. You kind of have a perspective of what's serious and what's not at funerals. It further emphasizes, if you look from that angle, that Tony is not rocking with Livia at all. You know, that's the first time seeing her is at a funeral. You think about your older people in your family, your parents. You know, unfortunately, you know, death is certain. So maybe you're not too far away from this. And if there is any time for me to reconcile, this would be now. Tony's so far gone from that. Like, so it kind of emphasizes that. I honestly got more out of the Richie aspect of this scene than I did from Livia.
Okay.
And I don't know, Spike want to piggyback on that, but I think that was more important than anything from the scene. Obviously, then of course the big reveal that he's finally in the same room with Livia again.
Okay.
I agree. The Richie scene and having the conversation with him, Tony said another great quote. And Richie was like, well, you're the boss, you make the rules. And he was like, nah, the rules have been there. Nigga, I'm just living by them. So I think that was a great line by him, and it goes to Tony for that constant. We talked about generational things, that constant fight for respect for his generation of doing what they do. Junior doubts it, Richie doubts it, like guys that are Paulie sometimes, guys that are older than Tony always like, well, this is the way we used to do things. And Tony's like, no, I'm doing things the way we usually do them. Y'all are trying to cut outside of the lines, and now I'm holding y'all accountable. Y'all get doing this different shit. And I love his response to Richie when saying it, like, nah, bro, I'm following the rules. I don't make the rules, and you ain't respecting me as a boss. And he told Richie, respect the position. If it was somebody else doing this, and I think throughout the series, this is the biggest problem that Tony has with the people who are the anti-hero against him. Like, you're not respecting me in the position. You're looking at me as your little brother. You're looking at me as your son. You're looking at me as this dude you grew up with in high school. I'm the boss of this family. And you need to respect it. And I think he did a good job of Richie saying it.
100%. 100%, man.
What else you think about that, Rich, about the Richie interaction?
Well, Spike pretty much covered it, man. And I think I can't remember if it's you or Spike that referenced cigars.
Yes.
And what cigars kind of mean in this show. And the fact that Tony pulls out a cigar, doing what he wants to, like I said, exerting that power. I'm in a funeral parlor. No, I'm not supposed to smoke inside, but I don't care who's going to complain. This guy,
this guy, does he don't mind?
Right, he doesn't mind. So I'm going to do what I want to, and that power dynamic, man. He just once again telling him, like, I am the boss. I'm the one that runs things. I'm the one that's really the only one that's following this thing of ours as far as the rules. So you need to get in the line, or it's going to be some bad stuff for you.
Yeah, you're going to have a problem. A bad one. I like that.
And I think it speaks to what the theme of this episode too, even with Davy's situation, the Richie situation. I think Tony feels like if this was someone else in this position and not me, Anthony Soprano, then you wouldn't be doing this. Like, you're not valuing the position that I'm in. Like, if it was anybody else who ruled this family, Richie, you wouldn't come in there and try. Like, you would understand how the ranking of position goes. And even with the Davy dude, like, if you were fucking with any other, if there was a mob boss who you owed money to, you wouldn't be handling me this way. So, I
referenced it last week, man. The Goodfellas reference, man. I don't shine shoes no more.
Yeah, I don't shine shoes.
That's how Richie looks at Tony. You know, you should have seen this guy. Your shoes look like a mirror. He looks at him like the little kid on the block. Nah, bro, I'm the boss now. You got to get that in your head.
Yeah. I'm just busting your balls. Now, sometimes it sounds like you're not joking. Like, Davey even looking at Tony that way too. Like, you still shine shoes. You know, you still, So yeah.
Davey, he all out of his element, man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so then we get this car ride, and Janice really digs into Richie right here. And she says she makes this whole thing about 50 grand and how mailmen make that. And and she was talking about how back in the day, the ex-cons, they got 50 grand coming out 30 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh. First off, relax, bro. 50 grand. A mailman takes a year to make 50 grand. Like she really trying to say, it's just like, she got it off. But golly, I was just like, man, get out of here. Trying to tell me like I come out and I got 50, bro. Do you know what I'm going to flip 50 grand into? Man, come on, bro. Anyway,
this is what a woman does, though, right? Like
Yeah,
this is
especially in
the
this
driving. Yeah, this is the driving factor. Like this is the reason. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is the reason that you're dating Tony Soprano's sister. Like Richie, this is a play for him. Like it ain't just like Tony said, it ain't head on the couch no more. We are evolved into this thing, and they're real stakes in hand, right? So me fucking the boss's sister, that means something. And her giving me this information, like, well, he fucking you over. This is his sister saying that. That's putting the battery in my back. Like, well, maybe I need to challenge this. Like, and again, that's why I think it's such a great Richie episode, because it makes him a formidable foe. Like, even with Janice putting the battery, and this is the first time we seen really Janice on this tip. Like, we see it later with Bobby and a couple of the other guys that she dated, but this is the first time we're like, well, maybe just like the mom, they don't see Tony as fit as being a boss. And maybe if I'm giving the information and he's dating the Soprano sister, that Richie can take over and have this position of power. Let me try to persuade him to try to take that route. And it just shows to the depths of how Tony looks at Janice. Like we've always wondered, like we get glimpses of it, but this is a real like
direct
deep dive. Yeah, this is a direct thing into why Tony looks at her the way that he does. He noticed she like this. So I think this was a good scene, a good Janice coming out party.
Yeah. Also, it was very interesting that, like I said, it's a good Richie episode. We see a different side of him. He's defending Tony.
Yeah.
He starts off.
He's a traditionalist. This is what we do. Like, who the fuck are you to say something about like the man gave me a $50,000 envelope? Like, I don't account for inflation, bitch. Like, what are you talking about? This is our business. This is what we do. Like, shut up about it. But she kept pushing, and then that's Janice.
I've been saying it all episode: masculinity, power. There's nothing more emasculating than having your girl check you and question you about money, your bread, how you being treated. Oh, he making a fool out of you. That's what she was on, man. And she, that's if you're familiar with the show, you see that's kind of a Janice trait.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Trust me, Richie went to bed thinking about that.
Yeah.
My girl look at me a certain way, that changes everything.
Yep. Facts.
I think too. I know you were saying, Spike, like there's a play here, but I don't think the full play is, this is the boss's sister, because he was with her before he was ever boss. He wasn't even in line to be the next boss at that point where he was a little homie. I think a part of the play of him dating her is because she has masculine energy. And so I think
the jail shit.
Yeah, exactly why. Like, I think that who knows what he was like prior to jail, but I imagine she might have been real creative back then. But coming out definitely was like, okay, this is my comfort zone. This is what I'm familiar with, and she ain't gonna look at me funny for whatever we do. I think that play is a part of it. And then, of course, it's a strong cover up. So I think that's a part of that play. And then I think he also benefits from, okay, I get the inside scoop that this is the boss's sister. I didn't know Tony was going to be the boss when I got out. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that it's twofold, but I don't know if it's strictly on that side of it than it is with the other side too. But just lastly, I think this is the same thing that Livia did to Johnny. Livia's in the back seat. I think literally this is probably the same thing Livia did with Johnny. No, you should do this. You should do that. But so we get Tony and he goes to see Davey. He's talking about he had a doctor appointment or something. He's hiding in the back of his office. And he's like, man, you still think I'm that little school kid on the bus? Like, he already checked Janice. You still think I'm that little fat boy. Now he checking him like, you still think I'm that school kid on the bus? What? Please, Tony, I'm doing my best here. And this man, get up. Get up before I rip you.
For what?
For what?
What? Man, nigga, you lucky I'll rip your head off.
45 grand, I'm going to rip your head off. Fatality style, dude.
Thanks. Nigga said, for what?
Dude, this man, Tony choked somebody with his bare hands, bro. Are you serious?
Oh shit! Well, Davey was a motherfucker, man.
He'll bring it out of you, man. He will bring it out of you,
man. Nigga said,
Oh
what?
man,
And it was legit, like questioning, like, why would I get up? Like, nigga, you better be doing anything I goddamn say right now.
I got a friend, man. My friend, his name's Thomas, man. Thomas G. He used to always, anytime somebody did or said something stupid, he'd always say the same thing. Like, how do you think this was going to play out? How do you think this was going to end? And I used to love that line because they would do it and he'd look at him the whole time. And once the stupid shit happened, he'd look dead at him like, how do you think this was going to end? And that's what I think about when I think about this scene with Davey. Like, bro, like, why are you? It's so frustrating, y'all, how nonchalantly he takes this. Like, it's 45K, like he just can't. I ain't got, and you don't have nothing.
Back there listening to soft rock on the radio, like, bro, what are you doing, homie?
You ain't hustling up no type of bread. You have nothing. You have no envelope for me at all.
He never came with the money. He never came with the money. Is my problem. You came to all these games with nothing. He never came with money. He came on credit the entire show. That's why I'm so pissed at this dude. Now you never seen a wallet of cash or nothing. You never showed up with any, bro. Oh man, I was so mad at this dude because this just, man, it just pissed me off into like the reality of how certain people get off on this. Like, but yeah, he was like, man, he said our kids go to school together. Like he's trying to use everything. He's Tony. I like that he got physical with him. I love that he
got to.
My man said, Tony, I'm sorry. I'm just having bad luck. Tony said, it just got worse.
Kyle, boy. And he's slapping him. Like, he's not punching him. He's slapping him. Like, I'm letting you know this is how much I think little of you, bro. I don't care what the case is. Like
masculinity.
Yeah. Masculinity.
Slap you. I ain't even got enough of you to punch you.
Punch you. I'm just going to smack the shit out of you. Man, that's funny.
So, Davey comes, and he asks Artie for 20 grand. He has Artie Bucco, the guy that left when he had like a couple $100 at the very beginning of the show. He has Artie Bucco. Is this Artie? The same one that got my event? No, all right. Artie Bucco.
I don't know which face was funniest. When he asked Artie for that money, or when he told him that it was Tony that he owed. Like, I don't know which face.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
Dog. Artie, his face. Artie is so dramatic, man. Artie was like, acting like he, come on. Like, it's the buildup. I'm your best friend, man. Come on. And then he was like, 20 grand. He's like, oh, man.
My nigga Artie
man,
was like, what?
Man, I got to get the roof fixed. Like, Artie, you never was, even if you had it, you would have never given that to him. Artie is hilarious.
Artie could have had 20,000 cash in his pocket and wouldn't have gave it to dude, man.
Oh man, that's why it made me laugh because he acted like he was really concerned. And he said,
"See,
Tony, go ahead, my bad."
This is why I partially, and I know it's a long play. Like if this Tony knows that he can still get something out of this, even if it's not cash itself. But there's a scene later on in this, not this season, but in another season with a different character we haven't met yet, Ralphie.
Yeah.
In a similar situation, Artie comes to him for money. He tells him direct. It's one of my favorite moments in The Sopranos because it's a real life thing. He tells Artie straight up, like, I can't give you this money. Why not? Because I can't hurt you if you don't give it back.
Because I don't want to fuck you up.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I got it in me to actually put hands on you if you don't give it back.
Yeah.
Part of me is like always blames Tony to some degree because I'm like, bro, you knew how this was gonna go.
You knew
it just went all bad.
I mean,
Artie's my nigga
face,
Artie was freestyling.
He was
like you should have seen his eye when he did the clap and his eyes looked up at the roof. You're like, oh, the roof. The roof, the roof gotta be
bro.
fixed.
No, Artie Bucco is full of it, bro. He is full of it, man.
He did the shake of the hand and look at the sky like, oh man, the timing. The timing.
He gave you all the signs. He gave you all the signs where you know a nigga not gonna do it. Anything that a nigga can do to be like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. He gave you all the signs.
All of that fake grace. Like, Artie, he is so funny,
you're not gonna believe this.
Yes.
But I gotta get the roof done.
Literally,
this happened
just
1 week ago.
Literally,
I'd have gave you 25,000 if it was a week ago. But
it's the Martin scene. Are you gonna be in Hollywood anytime soon? Damn,
shit,
like it's literally Like, bro, it's like y'all just this is the new Vesuvios. That's the funniest thing. It's the new Vesuvios. You talking about you got to get
new building, brand new building,
brand new building. Like, oh, Artie, man, I love it.
Damn boy,
we get
man.
Yeah.
Nah, go ahead. Because I looked at to see it again. The differences between when he asked him for the money versus I don't think Tony's gonna buy that. And Artie's face again looked in the like, oh man, you fucked.
Oh yeah,
it's over for you.
That is my friend, and I know what time it is. Like that's why Artie don't ask him for money later down the road. Cause he didn't even ask. He said, "You didn't ask me." He's like, "Nah,
he won't even do it. Yeah, Artie don't even want it. Like Artie know. Like that's one of the smarts that he has. He close enough to Tony to know. Yeah.
We get Davey. He comes. Well, Davey comes to the crib. He does this fake mad thing to try to get this finesse off real quick. He start really scrambling. Takes his son's car. So I told you not to be driving on the dirt, driving a little road, whatever they off-roading like where they do the four-wheelers and stuff. And he's like, Dad, no, I didn't do that, Mom. And I really felt bad for the kid. I ain't gonna even front, man. He really got dealt a bad hand. No pun intended. And Davey goes and drops off the car. And he looks at it and immediately dropped. He didn't take his car. He took his son's car. Terrible.
He fried, man.
Who's worse?
That man made up a whole scene about.
Oh man, Tony more fried than Davey though.
Okay. I was just gonna say who's worse, bro.
Tony more fried for giving that car. Bruh. He pick up your daughter every day in the same
every day.
Giving it to her like she ain't gonna notice what car it is.
Up to your career.
He fried.
Is so. All right, so Tony re-gifts. There's a page called Sopranos. They did a blend between this and Seinfeld, and it is hilarious about the re-gifter. But anyways, so he gifts this to her. She immediately recognizes, and Tony just loses it because he figured this is Tony. Any kind of play, any finesse I can get off. Okay, at least I can get some family equity here. I could get some. I can get some. I can earn here. And so he said, "Man, don't take it." He said, "But he's like, I'll eat it. You'll eat it before I'll give this up." He said, "All right, you know what? That's cool. I tell you what, I'm gonna take all this. I'm gonna go sell it. I'm gonna use it to get the same things that you use around the house that you love all the time with these clothes and jewelry and all of these things. And then this is why I love the most that Tony." There's a later scene that reframed how I looked at Tony's relationship with Carmela kind of from an earning standpoint. And this is one of those moments where he's like, everything is from the sweat. Everything is from my sweat, my work. And she was like, all right, Tony, but she ain't argue with him.
No, she didn't. Boy. And I'm a little bit more forgiving with Tony in this scene than y'all are because we've had this conversation with Meadow. Like on a college trip. Do you know what I do? Oh, okay. You got a nice idea of it? Okay. Here's the fruits of the labor. Here's how it actually works. Mm-hmm. Your friend homeboy owes me money. I took his car. Here, you can have the car. Oh, you don't want the car? Guess what? I'm going to sell it. I'm going to pay bills. I'm going to buy clothes. I'm going to buy food. You still eating off this. And I think he was really good in this because, and again, credit to David Chase. We've seen them have the conversation. I don't think this would have went the same way with AJ because he really ain't sure if AJ got a full grasp or understanding of what he do. But me and Meadow, we've had this conversation. You make your little mafia jokes and shit like that, and I let them slide.
Yeah.
So this is the result of it. Why are you acting brand new? I love that he was mad about that.
That's a very valid point. You are absolutely right. And it's a good lesson for Meadow. Yeah. You can't pick and choose between this. Like, if you want to know about the world, okay, you know about the world. You upset because now it affects somebody that you know and you close with. That doesn't change the fact that I still got to handle my business. You know what I mean? So this is a life lesson for you. It don't matter. Anybody can get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
good point.
I love this scene, but I do think, at the same time, I'm like, all right, Tone. We get it. She's aware, she's familiar, but she can't really do she's a minor. She can't make these decisions. She has to live off her parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't have thought that we're going to be cool. It's like, she's not mature enough to say, Dad, could you at least traded the car for a different one if you're going to do that? So it's like, she's a teenager. Give her a break. She not, because look, it's funny because Richie calls, I'm sick of this holier than thou act. And then Tony calls Meadow out for this holier than thou act. So I don't know if Richie kind of got through to him like he's getting through to Richie too, but I understand why he was mad. I just think it's like, bro, you gotta give her grace. Like Carmella's accepted this. You know, she was there on the come up, but Meadow's your child. And so it's like she ain't really got a choice. So it's like, give her a little grace there. Like that's why I kind of was like, all right, you kind of gotta give her a little wiggle room. But I understood why he was mad. Like
Carmella looked all right in that scene, man. I gotta give her a little shout out, man. That little cream, you know what I'm saying? Got a little figure going. All right, Carmella, I see you.
Yeah, now Carmella, she gonna have some, like, she's got moments. I'm gonna tell you straight up. She got moments when she chopped the hair. She got moments. I'm just gonna
know why
know
she
that.
the boss wife.
Oh yeah, you start to really know what time it is. So,
yeah,
she building it up right now. But when good call right there. Now Melfi really, like, we didn't call that out, but yeah, she's in her bag on this episode.
Just Melfi the one.
Yeah, just you already know that. But anyways, we get our. Is this our last scene? Yes, we get our last scene. Meadow. They go to Meadow's performance. But it ain't just the Soprano family. It's Richie Aprile, it's Livia, and it's Janice. And they're all there to watch it. Things go left with Richie's son. He gets out of there. He said, forget you, forget your gangster father, forget my dad. And he's out of there, man. I was just thinking, I ain't gonna even lie, man. I said, I hope he don't off himself, because he seemed like he was really in a dark space. Like, this is, yeah, for real. I was like, I mean, we never see him. We don't really see him like that again, I don't think. Unless there's a later season where he's one of them college boys. I can't recall, but yeah, I just think like, man, this is a terrible turn. But what did y'all gather? I know y'all both had, before we shut it down here, y'all both had pieces y'all gathered from the setups. So tell me what this was.
To piggyback off the last scene, when she's complaining about the benefits of Tony's work, like the car or whatever it may be. She asked the teacher for that solo, and the teacher told her no. Through what happened with Tony and Eric, he refuses to go on and do that duo with her and play the guitar, whatever he was doing. And in the announcement, it says Meadow will be performing the solo. And then someone says, oh, what a lucky break that is for her. Through all the repercussions of what Tony did, and who Meadow is and the lifestyle that her dad lives, she still got what she was looking for. Like, she can't run from the benefits or the things that are bad about her dad's lifestyle. You are a part of this. As much as you protest, as much as you cry about it, you're still going to have perks and not perks from this lifestyle. And one of the perks was what she was looking for in the beginning, the solo. She got to do it indirectly through Tony, because the dude left.
Okay. Rich, anything you add to it? No.
Nah, Spike hit everything on the nail. Only thing I'll add to it is the you know, I mentioned earlier, Sopranos just brings you into that world where everything is so cause and effect with the players in the game. Now we see the cause and effect with when it trickles down. Now my daughter has problems at school with one of her friends because of the business and life that I'm in. But even though Meadow, and I'm glad Meadow called him out on it.
Yeah,
your dad's not innocent in this,
right?
Even if I don't know exactly what happened. But you're not about to sit here and trash my dad like he did it, like he just pulled up to the crib and just took the whip. Like, nah, we got this for a reason. So, yeah, you upset, yeah, you were mad, but like, talk to your dad about that. Don't come to me. Like, and I gave the car, and for real, I did the friend thing. I told him I ain't want it.
Yeah, for real.
It's out of my hands now. It's above me. But I just love that aspect, because we don't think about how that plays a role into, what your actions do to the people around you.
Yeah.
So just that whole general aspect of it.
Yeah. Meadow, I love that Meadow would never fully, like, she gonna always have that little bit of hold up now. You know what I mean? I love that about her. So that's a dope trait, like
she was genuinely upset. She genuinely, even though Eric doesn't know, we saw it. Like, she was salty. Right. Like, she didn't want it to be Eric. She didn't want it to be her friend. It happens like that.
At the end of every episode, we like to rank it. We like to give the Good Earner Award, Broken Balls, and our favorite moment. So with this episode right here, I'm gonna throw the ball in your court, Rich. What do you rank this episode? Is it a made episode, Good Earner, or just another envelope?
It's a made episode. It's got to be a made episode. It's just got so much. It's got everything that makes this show great. It's got an iconic moment, which is the executive game. I don't think there's anybody who's watched The Sopranos or knows about The Sopranos that hasn't watched that. Great Richie episode, as we mentioned. Like I said, we see him just being that great adversary for Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And it just had the lesson, like Tony is bossing up each and every episode. He is bossing up. He's running more. He's getting more on his plate. And we see how he's dealing with all of that. And I think you tie that in with him being back in the therapy, it's got to be a made episode for me, man. This is the start of the second half run of this season.
Mm-hmm.
That is just impeccable. And I think it starts with this.
Spike Lou.
Made episode for me as well. But a lot of the same sentiments that Rich said.
Yeah.
This starts the show on a track to where we really get to see Tony get in his bag.
Yeah.
The family stuff with Livia and Junior, we really ain't a focus no more. And now he's dealing with the real adversaries, like out as being a gangster, which was exciting as a first-time viewer to see. Richie, like you said, a formidable foe. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is definitely a made episode for me.
All right, I guess I'll make it a made episode.
Nah, what you want to say, man? Go ahead.
I'm trying to, because I don't, because I don't want it to be. It's a good earner. It's a good earner for me. It's a good earner. Like, if I be true, it's right there. It's just like, I just need, if I don't know. I just, the Meadow plot line to me, just, I really didn't like it. And to be honest, like, sure, we get the end kind of like, oh, okay, even when it ain't, effective, it is effective, or I really like that line. That
benefits.
Yeah, I didn't really, it just wasn't, everything else was solid though. But that was kind of like, I don't really like that. So I'm going to say good earner, but it can't be anything lower than good earner, like you got in your mind. Who gets the good earner award? Rich?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta, man.
Ooh, this is a tricky.
I guess I gotta give it to Tony.
Yeah.
And I hate doing that, but it's gotta be Tony.
Okay, why? I gotta hear this.
Tony took over the executive game. He mapped out how every single obstacle that came in Tony's way, he found how to make it a benefit for him. Mm-hmm. He took over the executive game, made overhead on that. He saw Davey, tried to keep him away. He ended up being in the game. All right, cool. Now you in my pocket because I need you. Mm-hmm. I got this adversary is Richie, who's always trying to get into something, man. I put him to the side and let him know what time it is, kind of re-exerted my power. Mm-hmm. I'm back in the therapy, trying to figure some things out between my life. I'm setting up my daughter for success. I got her a new car and all of that. He didn't lose anything. While it was challenging throughout the episode for him and he had questionable calls, mm-hmm. he really came out on top with everything. He went to sleep having everything that he needed and then some. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody else really controlled the episode more than Tony did. And I tried my hardest not to pick Tony, mm-hmm. but it's hard not to. I mean, he really just came over. Like I said, he's bossing up, and this was a big boss episode for him.
Okay,
fair enough. What about you, Spike?
I tried to go left field.
Uh-oh.
So I picked the person who I enjoyed the most this episode, though they didn't have a lot of screen time, and that was Seal. Like that was it. Like, he won the card game. He won the executive game. He obviously walked away with the most money. And just the whole, like, there was so many good quotables from him going off with the cheese at the feet thing. Like, I really enjoyed Seal this episode, even the build up to it, like how he was giving people shit at the table, and then the switch when he got happy because he was winning. I think it was a great Seal episode, man.
That's a great call. I'm gonna go super left with y'all, kind of creative here. I'm gonna go in with the Soprano crew. Because everybody played their part. Paulie got to set up with the police. Furio got to set up with the room. Chris got to set up with the food and the young boys. You know what I'm saying? So everybody kind of was set up in there, to do their part. And then, of course, Tony being the host of the exec game, even Junior, you know what I mean, is getting the information, getting intel. So I'm going to go with the Soprano crew. Probably won't be a ton of that, but I'm going to go there. Broken Balls Award. this could get tricky at this very moment versus what we may see later. So, Rich, who you give the Broken Balls Award to?
So on the surface, it's easy to say Davey, right?
Right.
I'm not going with Davey. I'm going with Richie. The reason I'm not going with Davey is because Davey is out of his element. He's not in this world. Like, if I'm Richie, it's a lot more frustrating knowing that this is how we operate, this is how things are handled, and yet you still keeping me at bay. Like he mentioned to Tony outside, I think Spike referenced it earlier, you act like you in another business. You act like we do something else. Like we don't. So the fact that this guy, Davey, owes me $8,000, you know, it was 7, now it's up to 8, as he mentioned outside. I told him he can't be at anything. He's already shorting me of my bread. I come into this big high roller, one of the biggest high roller games, so high roller that it probably only happens once or twice a year. And I see him there. That's just a total sign of disrespect. I can't put my hands on him. When I do put my hands on him, you come and try to take me away like I'm in the wrong. You won't let him come out here and talk to me. Like I said, what the fuck are we doing? Isn't this our business? Isn't that what we do?
Yeah.
So everything that I'm used to and that I'm known for, and I'm playing the humble role. Like, I'm not even on your ass like I had been in previous episodes. I'm trying to go about this the right way, and I'm still getting taxed. I'm still can't collect my money so after you pay your $45,000. You know how long it's going to take him to pay that $45,000?
Right.
I'm never seeing my bread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I picked him solely because it's not like I'm in left field. This is the world I live in. I'm entitled to all of this. This is owed to me, and I can't collect because of you on this power trip and you making sure that you put your foot down on who the boss is. Now, granted, Richie did lead himself up to that in previous episodes, but in this episode, if you take it as a singular, absolutely, man. Like, because Richie has every right to be highly upset, and I got to give it to him.
That's a great one. Spike, what do you say?
I got a different one. That was a great one, Rich. You right.
Yeah.
Mo. Tom Senior, man. Man worked 65 years. The day after he retired, got blew off the roof by a wind gust trying to put a satellite disc on. And then to top it all off, Tony Soprano smoking a cigar at my funeral, just like, fuck it. Like, Tom Senior took a L this episode.
I didn't even think about that. Like,
Tom Senior had a rough one, man.
I love that. That is, that's a definition,
that's
bro.
great.
That nigga had a rough one, man. So yeah, that big L for him.
Yeah, man. Your life was dwindled down to I couldn't even.
Bruh.
The person taking the phone call didn't even have enough to ask about what happened. That's what your life is narrowed down to.
Like, nigga didn't even ask how you died, what happened to you, or nothing. And now I'm in here telling my psychiatrist, man, that nigga got blew off the roof by a wind gust. Like, what?
Nigga
the
said,
day after you retired.
And I didn't get to speak to that, but that's how it go, bro. That's how it go. You just pay a car off, and all of a sudden the car don't work.
Shit wrecked. Yeah,
bro. That's how it go.
Damn,
man. That was a good one, Spike.
That was low hanging fruit here, but I got to go with the same Richie, man. Like Tony had him by the balls, pause. You know what I mean? Like, period. And so he probably never gonna see that money. So I got to go Richie for sure. Even though Davey's gonna probably get the broken balls a few episodes down the road, but and lastly, Rich, what is your favorite moment?
Still.
I think that's unanimous. You got to ask me
every single time, man. Just his outburst, the way Tony set it up and played on. That was just an all-time classic rant.
Okay, how about this?
Holy shit, man.
What part of that rant is the funniest to you? How about that? We'll make it a little more.
Literally, you see him losing his ass at that game.
Yeah.
And just the immediate switch that he has. Like, as soon as you see that broom go by his feet, what the fuck are you doing? Why? Why now? Why now? That part, I think the why now part is him trying to understand, like, all of a sudden, this shit been at my feet for the past 20, 30 minutes. And now all of a sudden you come to get it right when I'm on my losing streak, bro. Come on, what you want? And of course, so where'd you find these fucking idiots?
Yeah. Okay, so what about you? You gonna say that your favorite moment as well, or no?
Throwing the food on the floor. Throwing the food on the floor. Say, here, you want to sweep something up, motherfucker? Sweep this shit up. I love that, man. That shit was fun. So that was mine.
Mine's if that's not my favorite moment. I'm gonna try to go left here, but I would say if it was, it would have been the hey, leave the food over there, like the whole like quick little stutter, like going through his thoughts. But I'm gonna say it's such a light one, but I made an edit recently and I kind of like this line of Junior where he's talking about. He's like, "You kidding?" He said, "Your dad left her a package that could choke a fucking elephant." I gotta tell you, I don't gotta tell you. I'm like, man, Junior talking that talk. He's a king, like he was just the way he reminiscing, even how they zoomed in the camera on him. Like I just like how he was talking about Johnny at that moment. He's like, man, she the type to have a honey ham under her crying about why she ain't got no bread. You know what I mean? He's like, man, he left a package that can choke an elephant. So that is
strong Junior scene, man. Even we only had one, but that was a really strong Junior scene.
It is.
True. Absolutely true.
I'm a fan of Junior, man, though. Like low key. I'm sorry, just putting this here. Okay. And that is our episode of Good Earners reviewing The Sopranos. If you haven't already, go follow us on Instagram, Good Earner Pod _ Sopranos for your memes as well as DM about the show. Y'all can follow us on YouTube, Good Earners, reviewing The Sopranos. Leave a comment. Rate, subscribe, iTunes, share with a friend who's a Soprano fan. Some of y'all are going back through it again. What better than to jump into a new Soprano podcast? So y'all follow us there. Y'all can follow our individual Instagrams. Y'all can find all that online. But in the meantime, remember, don't forget about it.